very good afternoon to the African continent and all corners of the world. Welcome to the number one sports show on the African continent, Africa at Play. We are live on DSTV Audio Bouquet channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are in South Africa. We are also streaming live on YouTube. Alternatively, you can access us from any corner of the world on channelafrica.co.za, also available on SABC+. My name is Neto and Neto Chemane. Hosiati Konyangazi Mumkadra Pandle Gonjani Moyani Vugu Dendele. Coming up on Africa at Play, the Women's Rugby World Cup action is currently underway in England. This is the 10th edition, which commenced on the 22nd of August, and the curtain will close on the 27th of September 2025. Yesterday, two quarter-final matches took place. Canada defeated Australia by 46-5, while the All Blacks women thrashed the Boxer women by 46-17. I guess this was revenge after the Box thrashed New Zealand in the earlier match in the men's category of the Rugby Championship. Then today, France tackles Ireland. This match started at 1400 Central African Time. Then at 5 p.m. Central African Time, it will be the English battling it out with Scotland in the fourth and final quarter-final match. New Zealand will confront Canada in the first semi-final on Friday, the 19th of September at 2000 Central African Time. We will get to know who meets in the second semi-final after today's quarter-final matches. In the International Cricket Council, the ICC T20 international matches, England takes on the Proteas of South Africa in the third and final T20 match that is taking place at 15:30 Central African Time. There's action in the Asia Cup T20 International where India takes on Pakistan at 16:30 Central African Time. In the South African football scene, it was an exciting special performance during the extra time for Orlando Pirates to triumph 3-0 against Stellenbosch FC in the MTN 80 final yesterday at the Mbombela Stadium, South Africa's Mpumalanga province. The University of Fethe will have a mammoth task to stop the superpower of the Hollywood Bets Super League, Mamelodi Sundowns ladies. This match is slated for 1500 Central African Time. And of course, there's more action that's taking place in the Premier League today. Arsenal managed to get a good win, a 3-0 win, one-way traffic against Nottingham Forest yesterday. The Tricky Trees and AFC Bournemouth beat Brighton and Hove Albion by 2-1. Newcastle managed a narrow 1-0 win against Wolves, Wolverhampton Wanderers, and Everton and Aston Villa played to a dull 0-0 draw, as well as Crystal Palace and Sunderland also achieving the same 0-score line. Fulham beat Leeds United by 1-0, while West Ham United went down to Tottenham Hotspurs by 3-0. Brentford, the Bees, and Chelsea, the Blues, played to a 4-goal thriller 2-2 draw yesterday. Today we've got action. Burnley will be taking on Liverpool at 1500 Central African Time, while Manchester City is up against Manchester United in the Manchester Derby at 17:30 Central African Time. We will get to speak to fans of the two giants and find out who's going to have a good dance after the final whistle. Match day 5 will be taking place on the 20th of September, and of course concluding on the 21st of September. And this is where we will be having 10 matches taking place. That means all the 20 teams in the Premier League will be in action for match day 5. And what's still coming up on Africa at Play is that our Zambian correspondent Namuchana Ligezo caught up with the Netball Zambia NZ General Secretary Pritchard Ngoma on our topic of the day.
Only a few, yes, have benefited, but it's not a big scope where poverty has been eradicated permanently. There is a very big gap. There are only in certain individuals who have come on board to help out in this area. For this, poverty to be eradicated, you need to have infrastructure in place. Do you have enough infrastructure whereby you cast your net out there, you go in the deep, look for these people who are vulnerable, those who are living in poverty, you get them and take them to where the infrastructure is. If you say in Africa, the country, how many sports arenas are there? Only a few. Morocco is trying to come on board.
Bok women coach Swayze De Bruyne believes a giant is awakened in the South African women's rugby after his side bowed out of the Rugby World Cup in the quarter-final, having made it to the knockout stages for the first time in history. South Africa went down by 17-46 against the defending champions in New Zealand at Sandy Park on Saturday afternoon.
And it's just unreal. I've never worked with I've been blessed 38 years in professional rugby. I've never worked with a team like this. It's just a bunch of fighters. I cry every day of proud. You know, it's just unreal how they never moan. They just go, go, go. And they, that's just fantastic. They made, I think a giant has awakened in South African women's rugby. That's what I'm thinking. The way, Cindy, you and your ladies carried on, you made us proud.
Orlando Pirates coach Abdeslam Ouaddou insists that winning the MTN 8 has not magically converted his critics into supporters, but believes the triumph shows his methods need time to bear fruits. The Buccaneers claimed the trophy for a record fourth consecutive season after overpowering Stellenbosch FC 3-0 in extra time at the Mbombela Stadium in Nelspruit. Ouaddou's tactical changes proved decisive, with winger Tsepang Moremi netting twice and striker Tsegofatso Mabasa adding to the score sheet.
It worked, and it doesn't mean that I am a better coach than 2 months ago. I think maybe I'm still a brother or carpenter for many people. I don't think myself better than Steve Barker. I have a big respect for the coach. It's a very good coach and a very interesting team of Stellenbosch. It's a club that is very stable, very professional for a long time, and we are happy to win that trophy.
This is the weekend of match day 4 matches in the Nigeria Premier Football League. Yesterday, Bendel managed a narrow 1-0 win against Niger Tornadoes. And today, there's action between Absa Warriors and Katsina United at 5 p.m. Central African time. There's more matches taking place at the same time. Rivers United up against Shooting Stars, while Nasarawa United takes on Wiki Tourists. And Kune Califat will be up against El Kanemi Warriors, as well as Bayelsa United taking on Enyimba. There's also Canopilias up against Enugu Rangers, while Wari Wolves will take on Kwara United. Plateau United is up against Remo Stars, and there's also Ikorodu City up against Barau. And this goes to show that football is back in a full swing as we get to witness action from different parts of the African continent and globally, where matches are playing, all the teams are playing in the matches slated for the weekend. There's also action coming up in the Zimbabwean Premier Soccer League, where Dynamos is up against Triangle United, and that match is taking place at 3 p.m. Central African time. And yesterday, there were matches that took place in the Zimbabwean Premier Soccer League, match day 28 out of 29, where Hirantals played to a 0-0 draw up against Caps United. Chicken Inn managed to beat Kwekwe United by 2-0, and Telwan went down by a narrow 1-0 loss to MWOS. Simba Bora, the reigning champions, played to a 0-0 draw against Scotland. It goes to show that you could be the reigning champions, but those that are in the same league as well are doing their best to plot against you. That's the beauty of football. Yada went down by a 0-0 against Bikita Minerals, while FC Platinum managed to beat Highlanders by a 0-0. Another match, Kariba went down by 2-0 against Ngezi, while Manika Diamonds managed to beat Green Fuel by 2-1. And of course, the match that is taking place today, it's just one match between Dynamos and Triangle United. Do remember to get in touch with us on our different social media platforms. On Instagram and X is at Channel Africa 1, and on Facebook, the name of our station, Channel Africa.
Africa at Play with Neto Neto Chemane.
Ukatili wa kijinsia unaharibu maisha na kutenga jamii. Hutokea nyumbani, shuleni, kazini na mara nyingi kwa ukimya. Lakini hauwezi kuendelea. Ukiona, ongea. Ikiwa unaumia, funguka, kwa sababu kutofanya lolote sio chaguo. Sikiliza vituo vyote 19 vya redio kuanzia Jumatano ya tarehe 23 Julai kwenye mijadala, ushauri, tamthilia, maonyesho ya elimu na mahojiano na wataalamu, manusura, watunga sheria na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800 428 428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji au kupata msaada. GBV ikomeshwe na wewe. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na shirika la SABC.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
14:11 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. Akona Mkijima, a rugby administrator who's going to join us for an exciting rugby conversation where we want to talk about the Borders Region's under-21 rugby team from South Africa that recently toured Germany during their tour. The Eastern Cape under-21 team, including players from the border region, visited Lower Saxony in Germany. This comes after an invitation by Germany Lower Saxony, who are celebrating 150 years of playing rugby. That is a remarkable footprint, I must say. This comes after an invitation. Remember, the same team from Germany toured South Africa last year and played against Districts under-21, Moko under-21 and Progress under-21 teams. Let's now welcome our special guest for this exciting rugby conversation. Akona Mkijima, very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Afternoon, Neto, and afternoon to your listeners as well this afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about this exciting initiative where we witness the Europeans visiting Africa and the Africans returning the favor, visiting Europe, all in the name of growing together in the sport of rugby. 150 years of celebration by this German institution is quite a great remarkable footprint.
Definitely, Neto. I think we must really appreciate the Eastern Cape government, first and foremost, together with the state of Lower Saxony in Germany, for initiating an exchange program between the two provincial unions, rugby unions. I think it is for the past 3 years, it has grown from strength to strength, as you have rightfully said, that the Germans toured South Africa last year. So this year they were celebrating the 150 years of rugby in that state, and also South Africa was then invited in the name of the Eastern Cape Rugby, Eastern Province and border under-21 teams from the rural areas, as players from the remote areas of the Eastern Cape that were really invited to participate and be part of that tournament and initiative, which is really great and remarkable for the youngsters of the Eastern Cape.
Does this also imply, Akona, that in the near future the Boks team might just be dominated by players from the Eastern Cape?
Without a doubt, I think the exchange program is such that the initiative is to grow rugby in Germany and making sure that we do the exchange. There are quite a number of young players that are working and playing rugby in Germany. They are also coaching the developmental schools and clubs in Germany, which is that is part of creating employment opportunities and as well as developing rugby in Germany. As you know, that Germany is the first world country with high employment rate, so South Africans are moving to Germany to get that employment and also improve the skill of rugby. So in the near future, we may see a couple of South Africans representing Germany in the World Cup or even in the Sevens. That is likely to happen in the next foreseeable future.
And talking about the future, when talking the giants of world rugby, one will be quick to mention the Amapokopoko of South Africa together with New Zealand, the All Blacks. And we've witnessed an exciting showdown yesterday morning, which we're still going to touch on. But just talking about the future, and you've touched on it slightly, does this imply that Germany is taking a different direction when it comes to rugby? Yes, at the Germany Lower Saxony, they are celebrating 150 years. But when talking the national team, we've not seen Germany as a superpower in rugby than we've witnessed them as a superpower in a sport like football. Does this convince you that those countries that are already on the summit of world rugby should not relax because the likes of Germany could be taking up that summit position in the future?
No, without a doubt. What I'm seeing in Germany is an improvement. I mean, we took the boys there and they understood the standard, but when we got there, the standard had really improved. Government is also, I mean, we had to visit Parliament and all of that. They took us to many places where there's a strong initiative to ensure that rugby is one of the main codes in Germany, and you must remember that it is not one of the main codes. I mean, there are hockey, there are handballs that are strong codes together with football in Germany. But now rugby is being taken seriously. They are putting a lot of investment in it. So anything is possible. It's a first world country. They've got resources. They've got now the people that they are getting from countries like South Africa. There's a lot of South Africans from all over, from Mpumalanga, Pretoria, that are playing in Germany currently. That then gives them, like the countries such as Scotland, that have got a strong South African contingent playing there. So that is coming to Germany, and we may see that upward development of the Germans in the game of rugby.
14:16 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome. We are in the middle of a hot rugby conversation with Akona Mgijima, a rugby administrator from South Africa, talking about the Borders Region's under-21 rugby team from this country that recently toured Germany. Akona, talking about the actual game of rugby, how did it go on the battlefield between South Africa and Germany?
On the battlefield, like I said, we played 3 games. The first game was really a tough game. I think the guys got a surprise of their lives because we're going there, they're thinking the Germans are not so good in rugby, but we got a very South African-like type of rugby, physically dominated. The final score on the first game was 38-36. It really reflects that those guys are really improving. The second game, of course, the South African coaches were able to study how the Germans are playing and all of that. The game became a bit better in the second game against the State of Lower Saxony. Then that game, I think the score was 38-17, which then we showed our dominance and understanding, and also we started to acclimatize a little bit better, and then everything went well. The third game, I think it was a friendly game that we had to travel to Berlin as part of a tour just to experience the city and also see sightseeing, and then we really outplayed the Berlin team by I think 84 points to 0. So that's the South African dominance, the skill, the flair that is coming from the youngsters, from the rural Eastern Cape boys, and also I think the areas such as Jeffreys Bay, all the way in Tata, Graafrenet, from all the way King and all different places around Eastern Cape. So those boys were really dominant and true talent. That's what we call it.
Are the Germans visiting South Africa next year, since we've seen a pattern where they've visited last year and now South Africa visited this year, and automatically my mind dictates that if you look at it as an annual celebration of this 150 years remarkable footprint, which will obviously increase as the two nations continue to visit each other. Is that the case, or it was just a special occasion of Germany visiting once and South Africa visiting once?
Definitely it is continuing. Next year we bringing women's rugby from Germany. They'll be coming down to the Eastern Cape to have a tour as well, with the hope of also promoting women's rugby in Germany, and also for them to get a feel how women's rugby is in South Africa, as it is one of the fastest growing activities or sporting codes among women, which is rugby in South Africa. And also Germany wants to also catch up on that, because at the moment there's not a lot of women playing rugby in Germany, because women are playing with men in Germany, which now they would want to get more competition amongst women. So there's definitely a team that will be visiting South Africa next year from Germany, women's rugby.
14:19 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, we are talking to a rugby administrator, a man who's devoted his life to rugby, Akona Mgijima, talking about all things rugby, especially with the focus on the development of the sport in the Eastern Cape and various parts of the country. Akona, please just stay on the line. We take a short break. We will wrap up our conversation after this short break.
From football fields to finish lines,
Eliud Kipchoge storms into the history books.
Neto Chemane brings you sports on Africa at Play.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Wewe ni mjasiriamali unajihusisha na biashara ya kuuza dawa.
Jaribu kutuambia kwanza, kwa nini ulianzisha biashara hiyo?
Tutasema kwamba maisha ya kila siku ni kwamba mtu anapashwa kuwa na maisha ya kuweza kujitegemea. Usitegemee kuajiriwa, lakini utegemee kujiajiri, na baadaye utaweza ukaajiri wengine. Na hiyo ilinipa msukumo mkubwa kwa kuweza kujiajiri na kampuni hii kwa ajili ya kuweza kuwasaidia wale ambao wanahangaika zaidi.
Unauza aina gani ya dawa?
Unasema ni dawa, lakini kwetu sisi tunaita kama vile ni pipi, ambayo ni virutubisho ambavyo vinakwenda kusaidia kwa wale ambao wanatatizwa na aina tofauti ya magonjwa.
Virutubisho hivyo sasa vinatibu magonjwa gani?
Virutubisho hivi vinatunza magonjwa kama vile ya kisukari, shinikizo la damu.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Africa at Play with Neto Neto Chemane.
14:21 Central African Time. Big ups to you for choosing Africa's number one. A warm welcome if you have just joined us. We are still having a rugby conversation with Akona Mkijima, a passionate rugby administrator from South Africa, talking all things the development of the sport. Remember, development is not an event, it's a journey, and it's a conversation you cannot just have once off, but you've got to keep having on regular basis. Akona, thank you for staying on the line. The Boks women haven't reached the knockout stage in the Rugby World Cup for the first time, bowed out to a very tough side in All Blacks women, and it looked to me like the women were paying revenge because their male counterparts suffered a heavy defeat, the first ever heavy defeat in the hands of the Boks earlier in the morning. It's just exciting times to witness two nations playing two matches in the same day.
No, definitely a spectacle and really something to look back into in world rugby as the two nations battle it out as rivals. I think especially when you're looking at the women's rugby at the moment, South Africa came from nowhere. At the moment, they've reached a quarterfinal that no one ever thought that there would be during this World Cup, having to consider that there was no women's rugby around 2020, 2021, just after COVID. And then Stanley Rubenheimer took over the women's rugby, started to establish structures, it became better. And then now, SA Rugby handed over the reins to Swayze the Brain together with Bafana Nhleko, never having coached women's rugby, but they managed to take women's rugby to the next level. And I mean, if you look at the competition itself and how the girls have projected themselves from the friendly matches, you must remember South Africa beat New Zealand in the last friendly match that they played, and that really set the tone for South Africa that there will be an improvement. And I mean, there's complete domination among the smaller nations. South Africa going into the top 10 and managing to reach top 10 in the world and managing to reach the quarterfinal, which is something historical for South African women, and also managing to score more points than they've ever scored in the previous World Cup shows that they are in an upward trajectory as a country. Women's rugby needs to be taken very seriously. I think SA Rugby now is investing on having women franchises, 6 women franchises around to ensure that there's a steady growth of women's rugby in South Africa. And I'm sure in the next World Cup we'll start to see the fruits of that when that is established of franchise rugby for women. Definitely a good achievement for South African women.
Akona Mkijima, a passionate rugby administrator from South Africa, talking all things rugby development. Akona, as we wrap up, let's touch on the Cricket Ngumbela Legacy Tournament. Your thoughts on this tournament?
This tournament really it's about celebrating the philanthropist and the humanitarian, the late Titeli Ngumbela, or advocate Titeli Ngumbela, who has built a phenomenal sports facility in his home town or his home village, Hilltown. This is a beautiful facility. I'm watching here. I'm there right now. Here you've got a top of class facility that this man has invested, and he's invested over 36 years investing in cricket development in this rural area. He, in his celebration, as I have said before, he has passed on now, but in celebrating his legacy, Border Cricket together with Cricket South Africa have initiated this Ngumbela Legacy Cup, where you see you see 4 games of cricket in over 2 days at this phenomenal ground. Yesterday, Inyati women, the border side versus EP side, they played against each other, where the EP women won yesterday in the T20 competition. Yesterday we saw the high school Dale College, well known from King Williamstown, played against a regional performance team from within Fort Beaufort area and Alice area. They played yesterday. And then today we are seeing the top sides, top club sides from Alice and Fort Beaufort within the Eastern Cape that are playing Tubbs versus Hard Catch. These are the teams that Ngumbela really dedicated his time in developing. But the main game, which is just started taking place now from 2 o'clock, is between the Inyati senior professional team against the Warriors, these are the top franchise teams within the Eastern Cape. They are battling out now for the Ngumbela Legacy Cup, which is a great initiative where we see a lot of kids coming in to watch cricket from the various rural areas or rural villages around Fort Beaufort and Alice region of the Eastern Cape. And it's really a beautiful scenery that we are seeing today in celebrating of the work that Mr. Ngumbela and Advocate Ngumbela has done together with his family in the development of the game in the Eastern Cape.
Any development tournament is of paramount significance, especially those taking place in disadvantaged and rural areas, because that talent is amazing, and if ignored, it will go down to waste indeed. We are wrapping up a conversation with Akona Mgijima, a rugby administrator, but also passionate about the game of cricket, currently at the Cricket Ngumbela Legacy Tournament that's taking place, all in the name of developing future stars of cricket. Akona, thank you so much. Have an awesome afternoon further. Enjoy every moment of the cricket action.
Thank you very much, Neto, and thank you very much to your listeners for giving me this opportunity.
It's an awesome pleasure. 14:27 Central African Time. Let's update you about the Zambian Super League matches. Yesterday, it was a match day 4. The curtain opened between Green Eagles and Musa. Musa winning that match by a goal to nil. There was another match between Konkola Blades and Prison Leopards, playing to a 1-all draw. Power Dynamos had power on the day, beating Napsa Stars by 2 goals to nil. Green Buffaloes had a good day on the pitch, beating Mines United by 2 goals to nil. Red Arrows managed to triumph against Nchanga Rangers, also by 2 goals to nil. Mfolira Wanderers went down against Zesco United by a goal to nil. Another match that ended in a 1-0 scoreline was between Kabe Warriors and Nkana Kabwe, coming out victors in that match. Today there's action that's still coming up between Motondo Stars and Kansashi Dynamos at 3 p.m. Central African Time. Another match will be between Zanaco and Nkwazi, also at 3 p.m. Central African Time. We will continue to update you about the different sporting codes in action today. My name is Neto and Neto Chemane. We are together until 5 p.m. Central African Time. An awesome sound from Angola by Matias Damasio, an amazing Pasada musician who's doing wonders not just on the African continent but also in the top 10 of Pasada in Portugal. And this time around he says, "Come on, Tish."
Weekends just got better. Only on Channel Africa.
Tenho certeza que foi o universo que te escolheu para mim.
És tudo o que eu sempre sonhei.
Já disse para mim, chega,
acabou. E sabes que mais? Eu já não te amo.
Sabes o que é que eu acho? Acho que nunca amaste.
Pega nas tuas coisas e vem morar na minha vida. Tu tens cara de tudo que eu sonhei. Quero ser feliz contigo, quero ser teu ombro amigo. Tu tens tudo que eu procurei. Mas olha, nós às vezes tropeçamos e há dias que quase caímos. Olha, nós somos humanos, sorrimos, mas também choramos. Quero que tudo seja como antes, nossas mãos no mesmo volante, em direção à lua, em direção à lua. Olha, nós às vezes tropeçamos e há dias quase caímos. Olha, nós somos humanos, sorrimos, mas também choramos. Quero que tudo seja como antes, nossas mãos no mesmo volante, em direção à lua, em direção à lua. Quero que tudo seja como antes, nossas mãos no mesmo volante, em direção à lua, em direção à lua. E viva o nosso amor, e viva o nosso amor, e viva o nosso amor, e viva o nosso amor. Quero que tudo seja como antes, nossas mãos no mesmo volante, em direção à lua, em direção à lua, em direção à lua, em direção à lua.
Africa at Play, beautifully, happily marrying sports and music.
Been on the road for a while, brother, you know why. 247, I'm moving, so I go day alright. Dreams untold every day, I don't need to tell no one. Rock Bobby with Solomon, I don't want to hear trilogy no more. Skating is a lifestyle, skating, skating, skating. Skating is a part of me, part of me. Skating is a lifestyle, skating, skating, skating. Skating is a part of me. Them know it's a part of me, it's a part of energy. Too much steez, mama shako. Before them wake, go to jalo. Still to speed, want to follow. Back a look, back, baby, shin love. Still on still, I just stack up. Kunita phone, I want power. They me sound, nibo sibo. On a flipping level, more sexy. You know bad man too, jiggy jiggy. You live for 2 pack, my lottery see. Can't do life for my enemies. Any day you see the boy, it's a good vibe. Every money getting money, then we flipping. Shut down on the city, good time with the titty. Skating is a lifestyle. Skating. Skating is a part of me. Skating is a lifestyle. Skating, skating, skating. Skating is a part of me. Skating is a lifestyle. Skating, skating, skating. Skating is a part of me. Skating is a lifestyle. Skating, skating, skating. Skating is a part of me. Chasing my dreams. If I can't balance, shall you got take it easy, my G. If I give you space, it is not my fault. I say nobody perfect. Sometimes I want in my zone, I want zone out, waiting at the reason I can't tell. I be make I play you the cassette. Oh no no, getting paid, baby Chico. Power update, baby Wacko. It's a speed, man, I feel good, man, I feel good. Skating is a lifestyle. Skating, skating, skating. Skating is a part of me. Skating is a lifestyle. Skating, skating, skating. Skating is a part of me.
14:35 Central African Time is skating. That is a song by Asake. This is Africa at Play. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome. Let's remind you on our exciting topic of the day. Sport has a remarkable impact in dealing with challenges like poverty and low percentage of employment. A success of an athlete in Africa benefits various communities through plowing back a program to disadvantaged areas by these elite stars, while participation in sports improves one's health and fitness. The question we are asking is, has sport played the role of reducing poverty on the African continent? You can drop us a WhatsApp or voice note with your thoughts on the number +27 63 406 9126. With the World Athletics Championships currently underway in Tokyo, Japan, global attention has turned to the track, and as expected, Africa's distance runners are making headlines just 2 days into the 9-day competition. Although it's still early days, the action is heating up, and the African nations are already making their presence felt. As our athletics analyst Geshom Sajinyati had predicted, African athletes have once again asserted their dominance in the distance events. Kenya currently tops the medal standings, tied with the USA, both nations boasting 2 gold medals apiece. A remarkable achievement given the USA's traditionally large contingent at global championships. Let's now cross over to our UK-based sports correspondent, Geshom Sajinyati, for a roundup of the highlights so far. Saji, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play. Despite the USA's traditionally large contingent to the World Championships, what are the chances of Africa making certain that they prevail? Before we do that, let's cross over to Sergi's voice.
Back to African performances, it may be too soon to celebrate just yet, but Kenya and Ethiopia are already flying the flag high for the continent. In a thrilling finish to the women's marathon, Olympic and world champion Perez Jepcheshe surged ahead in the final 200 meters to claim gold. She held off a strong challenge from Tikisti Asefa of Ethiopia, the former world record holder, who had to settle for silver. The bronze medal went to Julia Patinan of Mexico, who spoiled the party for the African runners. Kenya's distance legacy continued in the women's 10,000 meters, where Beatrice Chebet stormed to gold. Italia's Nadia Bartoletti surprised the field with a strong run to claim silver, while Ethiopia's Tsegai Godaf, the defending champion from Budapest, managed to get the bronze. Kenya's Agnes Chebet just missed the podium, finishing 4th. So far, 8 countries have picked up medals, with Canada and Spain each securing a gold. Italy has claimed 2 silvers, while Mexico and Netherlands also joined the medal table with 1 apiece. With day 3 now underway, expect more fireworks on the track and drama on the roads as the championships unfold. Stay tuned for more updates right here. We will be following every stride, sprint, and spectacular finish. Geshom Nyati for Africa at Play.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. From football fields to finish lines,
Eliud Kipchoge storms into the history books.
Neto Chemane brings you sports on Africa at Play.
14:40 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time on DSTV Audio Bouquet Channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are in South Africa. Also available from anywhere in the world on channelafrica.co.za. You can also access us at your fingertips on SABC+. Let's now welcome our UK-based correspondent, Gesham Sajinyati, and zoom into action that is currently underway in Tokyo, Japan, at the World Athletics Championships. Saji, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Thank you, Neto.
It is a big occasion. It doesn't go bigger than this. Perhaps if you're not talking the World Athletics Championships, you will be talking about the Olympics, which are two giant events, if I may put it that way, when it comes to the world of athletics. Let's dive into it. Although USA traditionally comes with a large contingent to the global championships, what are Africa's chances to top the medal tally?
Yes, more medals are still expected, particularly in distance events and the marathon, the men's marathon, which is yet to follow. The defending champion in the men's marathon is Victor Kiplangati of Uganda. There's quite a chance, but apart from him, there's a strong cast of African runners from Ethiopia and Uganda as well, but there could be outsiders also from the African continent doing well in the men's marathon. And the other event where I've always said and insisted we are likely to pick medals is the men's 10,000 meters. There's a top-class field of runners from the African side that are expected to do well. Now, if I can actually explain, what a 9-hour time difference from us back at home and in the UK. So in Tokyo at the moment, very shortly, it will be Monday. So that is day 3 of the competition, which is in progress at the moment. And excitingly is that in the 100 meters, sprinters like Akani Simbine qualified to the semi-finals, and Gifty Ukraine, also from South Africa, he qualified with the fastest time in the sprinting event in his heat. So he is there out, and the same is Ferdinand Omenyala of Kenya. Letsile Tebogo of Botswana is also in the semi. So it's a big, big move. We wait to see who is going to reach final, because if you reach final, even if you don't get a medal, but that is considered as one of the best performances. So, yeah, there's a lot to come. The men's 3,000 meters steeplechase, I can see that Sofiane El Bahali of Morocco has qualified with the fastest time, so he is the man to watch. He's an Olympic champion, he's a former world champion, he is really a star. While the men's 10,000 meters, I think significantly mentioned the name of Yomifik Belcha of Ethiopia. He is really a star. So, lots of things, lot of drama still looming up in the air, Neto.
14:44 Central African Time. That's the voice of Kesham Sajinyati, our UK-based sport correspondent, talking about action at the currently underway World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, Japan. Saji, with the US traditionally bringing a big contingent, what's stopping the African continent in terms of various African nations to bring a big number of athletes to these World Championships? Are there limits that are stopping the African continent from doing so, or we just have to dig deep and make certain that we capitalize on all possible disciplines?
Yeah, that is a question which has to do with the development. I can take other countries like Ethiopia. Ethiopia, they've got only one participant who took part in the marathon. And what is required is that athletes from all over the world, they have to meet the standards. You know, there's a criteria which is set to say if it's 100 meters, you have to reach such a time. If it's a marathon, you have to do this to qualify. Both field events, javelin, shot put, and discus, and pole vault. You have to, reach the grade and qualify for the event. So that is the reason why other athletes do not send big teams. Whereas big countries like the USA, they've got everything and they've got the money also to develop their athletes. So that is why they will always have a big contingent. And you'll find that at the end of it, they will end up with the most number of medals. And then it would appear they are the best in athletics. But take Kenya, for example, not a country. They've done it in the past, getting more, getting on top of the medals table, because they would have had a number of their athletes, especially in long track events and marathons, getting the gold. Because if you get a gold, it counts more. So that is the variation which I can explain to say that is why some countries are not sending big teams. So, yeah, it's just one of those things, Neto.
Kesham Sajinyati, originally from Southern Africa in Zimbabwe, currently based in the United Kingdom, our athletics guru, the encyclopedia of global athletics. Saji, always an awesome pleasure tapping into your insight when it comes to athletics. Have a good afternoon further.
Thank you. And now look forward for another favorite athlete, Marie-José Talu of the Ivory Coast. She is the only sprinter who has made it to the finals in the 100 meters, and she will also compete in the 200 meters. She is a great, great athlete from the African continent.
And I remember she also participated at the Diamond League during an event where she got penalized for a wrong start, but she also participated under protest. And in another different discipline, she finished third. And in that same discipline where she was penalized, she also finished third under protest. So it's good to see that consistency from the African elite athletes moving from one international spectacle to another. Saji, have a good afternoon further.
Thank you. Marie-José Talu has absolute commitment and determination to do well.
14:47 Central African Time. That was our encyclopedia of global athletics. Kesham Sajinyati, our correspondent based in the United Kingdom, originally from Southern Africa in our neighbors Zimbabwe. Let's now welcome to Africa at Play Charles Hosiamena Bailoyi, a gentleman who's a renowned sports journalist focusing majorly on athletics. If an athletics event is taking place in South Africa, there's no way Charles Bailoyi wouldn't be there. He is always there in the forefront of conversations around athletes in South Africa and the African continent. The last time I was with him was yesterday at the Hollywood Bets Joburg 10-kilometer race, where we got to witness Thabo Mosiako becoming the winner after being the 2024 runner-up in this same race. And we also saw Frida Ndinda of Kenya, who was the defending champion, becoming a victor, defending her champion successfully. And Charles Bailoyi was at the recently concluded Paris 2024 Olympics. He's covered 2 Olympics to date, and that goes to show that we're speaking to someone of a great caliber when it comes to athletics. Let's also find out from him what are his expectations about the currently underway World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, Japan. Osiamena, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play. We've lost that line to Charles Baloyi, but we will try to re-establish that line. Let's take a short break. We'll be back with Charles Baloyi.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The stories, the scores, the spirit of the game. Catch Africa at Play with Neto Chemane. Saturdays from 2 to 5 p.m. on Channel Africa.
14:50 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play, the continent's best sport and music destination. Action continues in the Africa Afrobasket Under-16 basketball playoffs. In the third quarter, Egypt Under-16 managed to went down to Mali by 26-30, while at 1900, Ivory Coast will be taking on Cameroon Under-16. There's more action coming up. Actually, earlier today, Cameroon managed to beat Mali by 55-53, while Egypt Under-16 will be taking on Ivory Coast Under-16 at 1600 Central African Time. Let's now welcome to Africa at Play Charles Baloyi, a renowned athletics journalist in South Africa. Not only athletics, but various sporting codes as well. Osiamena, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Absolutely. Option to the listeners. I'm happy to be on Africa at Play. Such a beautiful show and one of my personal favorites.
Thank you so much for following us and for giving us the necessary support. When I grow up, I want to be like you. We are busy working and you are chilling on the couch witnessing the action at the World Athletics Championships. What have you witnessed so far?
I'm doing what I love, Hosi, and today we've just witnessed history. It has never happened that two South Africans will be competing in the 100 meters final for the men's later today around 20 past 3. For the first time, Akani is good company in Gibbs Lotlela. Both of them qualified as the two non-automatic qualifiers, two fastest losers in the semi-final, running 9.96 and 9.97. So they've made it in the final. They'll be competing with Kishan Thompson, your Noah Lyles, your Saville. It's going to be fireworks in the final. It's going to be epic stuff. They are part of the 8 fastest sprinters in the world. And right now, as we speak, we have one of our own who's based in America, Adrian Valshot, who's the 10,010-kilometer record holder, running and holding his own against some of the top African runners in the final of the 10,000 meters. So today we're witnessing a final which is still ongoing, and we're waiting for the big final where two South Africans are going to be representing the flag for the very first time.
14:52 Central African Time. That's the voice of Charles Baloyi as we're zooming into action currently underway in Tokyo, Japan. Charles, let's talk about South Africa. Did we send a decent number to Tokyo? And what does that mean? Because I know certainly that big countries like the USA always take full advantage of these World Athletics Championships, sending a large contingent, and that always works in their favor, not just in the World Athletics Championships, but you got to witness that even when it comes to events like the Olympics. China, the USA and Canada always on the top 3 of the medals tally because of that added advantage of a decent big number.
What makes those big countries, your USA, China, and Great Britain, to send massive numbers is because of funding. The budget allows. They prioritize their sports. In South Africa, right now, federations are crying. We've seen a statement by SASCOC with the sports minister cutting the budget of various sports federation funding. I spoke to tennis, I spoke to netball. They've had cuts of 2 million. I'm just trying to to give perspective into your question, to say funding is very crucial. When we cry about sending big numbers, and now at home people are crying about budget cuts. So those countries that don't really experience budget cuts, I was just answering that question in passing. So we in South Africa, they've sent a team of 49 athletes. Unfortunately, Bayanda Walaza withdrew due to hamstring injury. So we have a team of 48 athletes. We've managed to reach one final on day one, a day that was dominated by the Kenyans and Americans. So we finished sixth in the 4x4 mixed relay. That was our first final. And now in the 10,000 meter, we have one final. Adrian is still running with about 7 laps to go. And then Akan and Gift will be running in the third and fourth final in the 100 meters. So in 2 days so far, we have not done that bad compared that we've sent a team of 49 athletes. And also athletics has lost a big chunk of funding, about 2 million, because of, the minister, sports ministry has put some budget cuts, where SASCOC is also trying to fight their case to say no, cutting funding is not good for sports, especially with the Olympics and Commonwealth coming next year and in 2028 in LA. So funding remains our biggest concern, and it's a pity that the federations now have to do with the little funding which they've been allocated to. So to answer our question, also funding is very crucial.
Funding is very crucial, and I fully agree with you. Instead of cutting it, you'd rather increase it, because we see the results that comes out of investing in sports. Countries like China, the United States of America, Great Britain, like you've mentioned earlier, they capitalize on that because they know that a big number of athletes will come contributing to the industry of sport when it comes to creating employment and making certain that not everyone looks for a 9-to-5 job, but people can consider sport as a career. Talking about these funding cuts, are we doing enough as South Africa to copy from others? Because there's nothing wrong with copying, provided you copy a good thing. I'm certain it's not always about financial constraints, but it goes back to prior proper planning, which I believe prevents poor, pitiful performance. If we plan proper, we should be able to see an allocation of budget in a fair manner that speaks to South Africa wanting to be in the top 5 globally when it comes to athletics.
We're not doing enough. For example, here I'm looking at various disciplines. Right now there is a long jump final going on. We only send one long jumper in the females. Imagine if we had 2 more long jumpers. That talks to you about funding and lack of training. There was a final of shot put. We only had 1 shot putter. There's a final of men long jump, which will come later in the competition. We only have 1 long jumper. There is 3,000 steeplechase. We don't have a 3,000 steeplechase. There is 5,000 event in the World Champs. We don't have a representative. We missed out on 6 more athletes. We could have had 3 in the men, 3 in the women. We have so many. We have women's 1,500 meters. It was running earlier, the semi-final. We had no representative. We could have had 6 athletes, 3 men, 3 women in the 1,500. We didn't have any representative. So there's a lot that still needs to be done, and I can count this disciplines that are still to come where we don't have representatives as a country in South Africa. This shows that there's a whole lot of work that still needs to be done, and we need to go back to the drawing board. If it were up to me, all the events that are here, like in pole vault, we have no one, for example. We could have had 3 also. So we need to go back to the drawing board and fill each and every event, and that means we'll have to send a number of 100. That's where the funding will need to come in so that we can be able to train these athletes, hire coaches, develop these people, go back to the schools, go back to the grassroots, knowing that with all these disciplines that I've mentioned that are missing, we need coaches, we need instructors, we need athletes, so that that's where the funding needs to come in. So we are far behind the rest of the world. We're just dominating in the sprinters. In the sprinters right now, we're in a healthy stage. We are dominating the relays. Already we're in the relay final yesterday, and we're expected to make the 2 more finals in the 4x4 men, 4x100 meter women. and possibly we can even medal in those events. We're excelling. Why don't we put the same weight and effort in the other discipline where we don't have any representative?
Incredible input indeed from Charles Hosiamina Baloyi, a renowned sports journalist based in South Africa, raising solid points about areas of improvement in South African athletics. And if you ask me, we need an urgent sports indaba, because not only is about athletics, but other sporting codes as well that are suffering from these budget cuts that are undoubtedly not helping the cause of developing sport holistically in South Africa. Charles, I want to continue, but the clock keeps saying no. Continue enjoying good action from Tokyo, Japan, World Athletics Championships. Ciao.
Thank you, Sunday.
14:59 Central African time. That's how we wrap up the first hour. Just to recap, we got to speak to Akona Mgijima, who is a passionate rugby administrator in South Africa, talking about the tour of rugby players from the Eastern Cape touring Germany recently, and also speaking about the development of cricket in the Eastern Cape. We also got to speak to Gesham Sejinyati about the World Athletics Championships, accompanied by Charles Hosiamina Baloyi, a renowned athletics journalist based in South Africa. We are heading into the second hour of Africa at Play, where we will be talking to Chloe Stewart, who is a 16-year-old female motorsport driver, to talk all things her journey in motorsport and more coming up on Africa at Play.
You like what we do on Channel Africa? Then follow us on our socials. Channel Africa 1 on all social pages. And get the African perspective.
So in love, can't you see? I like
15:03 Central African Time. A song titled I Like You by Una Arams. Nothing beat having to express your interest in someone else, and that is the power of love, especially on a Sunday afternoon like this one. We will be talking to our teenager in sport, a 16-year-old female driver in motorsport, that is Louis Stewart, shortly. Let's update you about the German Bundesliga matches taking place this weekend. Yesterday we witnessed action in the match day 3 of 34 matches. Leverkusen beating Eintracht Frankfurt by 3-1, and now you know why they are nicknamed Leverkusen or Wienerkusen. Union Berlin going down by 2-4 against Hoffenheim, and Heidenheim went down by 2-0 against Borussia Dortmund, the Yellow Wall. Mayence went down by a narrow 1-0 loss against RB Leipzig, and SC Freiburg managed to beat VfB Stuttgart by 3-1. And all these matches took place yesterday. Another match that took place yesterday was Wolfsburg playing to a 3-3 draw against Köln, producing 6 goals in a match. Bayern München, the reigning champions and the superpower in German football, had a good day in the office. One-way traffic beating Hamburger by 5-0. And today we're expecting action from FC St. Pauli up against FC Augsburg, and this match is taking place at 15:30 Central African Time. Borussia Mönchengladbach will line up against Werder at 17:30 Central African Time. We take a short break as we roll out the red carpet for our Teenager in Sport conversation with Chloe Stewart.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K,
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Wewe ni mjasiriamali unajihusisha na biashara ya kuuza dawa. Jaribu kutuambia kwanza, kwa nini ulianzisha biashara hiyo?
Tutasema kwamba maisha ya kila siku ni kwamba mtu anapashwa kuwa na maisha ya kuweza kujitegemea. Usitegemee kuajiriwa, lakini utegemee kujiajiri, na baadaye utaweza ukaajiri wengine. Na hiyo ilinipa msukumo mkubwa kwa kuweza kujiajiri na kampuni hii kwa ajili ya kuweza kuwasaidia wale ambao wanahangaika zaidi.
Unauza aina gani ya dawa?
Unasema ni dawa, lakini kwetu sisi tunaita kama vile ni pipi, ambayo ni virutubisho ambavyo vinakwenda kusaidia kwa wale ambao wanatatizwa na aina tofauti ya magonjwa.
Virutubisho hivyo sasa vinatibu magonjwa gani?
Virutubisho hivi vinatunza magonjwa kama vile ya kisukari, shinikizo la damu.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
What are the teenagers up to if they are not in class? Let's get in touch with the teenager in sport.
15:08 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are together until 5 p.m. Central African Time. It is a special moment to welcome our teenager in sport who is involved in motorsport. And it's always heartwarming to see ladies out there doing the most, showcasing that anything a man can do, a lady can do better. We will be talking to the 16-year-old Chloe Stewart, who is one of South Africa's leading female motorsport competitors and was crowned the 2024 DOE Formula V Rookie Champion. She also represented the country in Spain at the Tillotson Racing World Cup with Formula KSA. What a performance on the international stage, racing against some of the best in the world. In May this year, Chloe Stewart delivered a flawless performance in round 4 of the BMW M Performance Parts Race Series that weekend, dominating both heats at Swartkops Raceway as part of the regional Extreme Festival presented sponsored by Coca-Cola. And of course, Dear Daddy is here. We're also going to find out from Mr. Berry the contribution and the support that is required to make it certain that when your child is involved in sport, not only are they adding numbers, but they can always make it to the elite level and have a scenario where they experience the sport not just as an entertainment method, but also as a career. Chloe, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much for pulling through.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I see you pulled Dear Daddy for moral support.
Yes.
Braberi, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
Afternoon, listeners.
I like your hairstyle. I can see where inspiration comes from. So Chloe is inspired by you to come up with a nice hairstyle as well.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for pulling through. Chloe, when did you meet motorsport?
I started motorsport when I was 7 years old.
It's been 8 years of experience.
9 years.
9 years of experience.
Yes.
That's a good journey right there. And how has the journey been from 7 years to your current age as a 16-year-old?
Oh, it's been tough, but it's been a very good journey, and we've worked really hard and we've built our way up, and we're still obviously trying to get overseas, and we're building up as we go. But it's been a good journey.
There's netball, cricket, swimming, athletics, football, and you decided to go with motorsport.
Yes.
What triggered that interest?
When I was a baby even. I never played with Barbie dolls. I always played with cars. I even got a little battery-operated car, and I used to put paper on the floor and drift around in my car. So I've always had a love for cars, and then I eventually went to ask my dad to join racing when I was 7 years old.
Interesting indeed. And what was the answer? I can easily tell that he might have agreed thinking, I've got to spend on making certain that, motorsport doesn't come cheap. For you to be able to participate competitively, it's not an event, it's a journey.
No,
let's find out
definitely.
from the father. Braberi, good afternoon once more. Thank you so much for joining us. Talk to us about Chloe as a little girl, those days when she was still playing with a car instead of a baby doll, and here she is now fully into motorsport.
Oh, look, I remember when she was only 2 years old, she used to drive around the little model car, and she used to put newspaper on the floor. And we said to her, why are you putting newspaper on the floor? And she looked at us and she just drove over it, and she actually drifted the car on the newspaper between the tables. And she's always had the passion, from the little car to the little quad bike. And eventually she turned around and said, look, she wants to get racing. And we found the right channel. We got her into karting, and she started at the bottom, and she's just worked her way up from there.
Interesting indeed. Chloe, let's talk about the transition where you start as a junior with karting, and then you end up now, elevating and graduating to the big girls' cars. Talk to us about that transition.
So obviously you don't want to stay in a series that you're too good for. And as much as that sounds like a bit ego, but as soon as you start winning in a category, it's time to move up, because you're never going to learn to get better if you're just the best. So every time I won a series or I started being in the front, we moved up to the next one. And also I'm very tall, so I outgrew a lot of the cars. So building up, we went from babies to obviously junior, then senior, and then we did get to main circuit when I was 12 years old. I started in Formula M's. And that's how we started building up from there, from single-seaters to then Formula Vs and now to BMWs.
In your journey as a motorsport driver, at what point were you convinced that you are good at what you're doing?
I was definitely convinced when I was like 12 years old, definitely, when a lot of the boys in my grade, I was still in primary school, were telling me that I'm not good enough, like it's a boys only sport and I should never do it, but I was winning and I was beating all the boys, so I was definitely convinced.
And what can you say to other ladies in motorsport out there that are not as strong mentally as you? Because when boys say this is meant for boys and not ladies or girls, it could have easily been a scenario where you say, perhaps I'm not meant for it, and easy to despair, but you didn't. You kept on going on. Your inspiration could just inspire another woman in motorsport out there.
So definitely, as a woman in motorsport, it is difficult. It's a men-dominated sport. So definitely never listen to men. They're just trying to tear you down. They're just jealous. And also, when you put the helmet on, you're a racing driver. You're not a female, you're not a male, you're all a racing driver. And you just race each other. So never listen to anyone who's trying to tear you down.
Her name is Chloe, talking to us on Africa at Play about her motorsport journey. Chloe, when last did you participate in a motorsport event and how did it go?
I raced last weekend in a 125 GP shifter kart, and it went pretty well. Unfortunately, there was some car troubles, so I was at the back. I got disqualified because of technical difficulties, but we worked our way through anyways.
How do you bounce back from that moment where the cars gives you all sort of trouble and it sort of seems like it's just not a good day for you?
Oh, it's not a very good day. It's not a good feeling to be at the back. It's not a good feeling to lose when you know you can do better. But that's what you need to remember. You need to remember why you're doing the sport and why you love it. And that's your motivation to keep going.
Chloe Stewart, our teenager in sport who is involved in motorsport and making certain that she devotes her life to the sport to make it to the highest possible bar, accompanied by her father, Braberi. Braberi, talk to us about what it takes to make it certain that, you know, everything goes accordingly for Chloe to enjoy her journey as a career in motorsport, because they always say that motorsport doesn't come cheap.
Yeah, no, it's almost like running another business. Yeah, so it's constantly, we're not only taking her to practice, she's got to practice, she's got to have a healthy eating diet, fitness, she trains every single day. Then it's obviously the coaching, it's the teams, and then it's getting sponsors and sponsorships. And that's almost a career on its own, in that it doesn't come cheap, but you need good sponsors. You need to align with teams. She's very fortunate this year. The Pablo Clark Racing team has a BMW development program, and she's got the opportunity to be one of the development drivers. So it's a constant sort of game that you're playing with the end goal in sight, to get to the bigger, to represent your country overseas. But to get there is expensive, and it is more than a normal person can do within their own means. So we are very reliant on sponsors, and thankful for sponsors like the Pablo Clark Racing team.
Are you also involved in motorsport?
I am now. I got roped into it. I did karting socially when I was a little bit younger, did endurance karting. But she actually got me roped back into it. And because her Formula V, which is her single-seater, the racing clashed on the same day as the BMW. So now they've got two cars in one day, which can't happen. I've actually this year, for the first time, I'm an old rookie, and I've jumped into her V, and I've started racing her V. But the passion for motorsport actually stems from her and not from us.
Very interesting indeed. A lot of times you would expect a daughter or a son to be influenced or inspired by their parents, but we're seeing a vice versa scenario. Interesting indeed. Chloe, what will put a good smile on your face 5 years from now in your career as a motorsport driver?
To be an international driver. We're trying to get overseas. We're trying to get a drive overseas, but obviously money's a big problem. It's very expensive to race overseas, but that's the end goal. We want to go to DTM's Formula One Academy. That's just our big aim.
Do you know the likes of Fabian Lance?
I do. We're very good friends with Fabian Lance, actually, from go-karting years.
What do you like about her as a motorsport driver? Because she also has some great achievements in her journey as a motorsport driver.
Yeah, she's very passionate and very confident, and she's not afraid of what men say about her. So it's very inspirational.
This weekend is blessed with motorsport, because yesterday we were talking to a young motorsport driver, Matteo Saladino, together with his mother, Natalie Saladino. So it is a weekend dedicated to motorsport. Let's talk about troubles. When your car gives you trouble, there's always a team behind the scenes that comes on board to make certain that they make it up to you. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about Pablo Clark Racing, best team out there. We barely have any technical problems because the car is set up very well, but obviously it's racing, anything could happen, but they are very on the ball. So as soon as an incident happens or anything breaks on the car, they're super on it and they get it fixed very quickly.
Do you also get support from your mother, and what kind of a mother is she?
My mother's the best mother ever. She's my cheerleader. She comes to most of my races. She would come to more, but she's a bit scared. She gets nervous when I'm on the track, but she still cheers from the sidelines.
I've also witnessed that sometimes you find a family that gets involved fully in one sport. Like in your case, if you have siblings, you find a scenario where they are also involved in motorsport. Do you have any siblings? Is that the case?
I do have a sibling. I have a little sister, but that's not the case. She's not passionate about motor racing or driving. That's kind of my passion, but she is very passionate about netball.
When is your next event?
My next event is in October.
3rd and 4th.
The 3rd and 4th of October.
Is it happening in Benoni?
No, it's happening at Red Star Raceway.
Oh, Red Star Raceway. Interesting indeed. And motorsport comes also with those that have walked the path, that have been part of the journey. Anyone that you look up to?
I look up to Paolo Cavalieri. He's a big inspiration. He even made a fake name to keep racing because his parents didn't allow him to. So it's very inspirational.
What an interesting story. 15:19 Central African time. That's it. Chloe Stewart together with the father, Mr. Berry, also giving her the necessary support. And it's just inspirational to witness a scenario where your daughter pulls you from the bar and says you must be involved in motorsport as well. What do you like so much about motorsport, Mr. Berry?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, it's a complete breakaway from, when I've been driving with on the track, you forget about everything else. You're so focused on the moment that, you can't think of anything else. You got to think of that next apex, that next corner, that next pass. And I think her almost roping me into it has really sort of made me understand her passion. And I don't understand how fast she is. We worked it out at Swartkorps. She would lap me every 8 laps. That's how much faster than she is in the same car. So I don't know where she finds that extra pace, but she somehow finds it.
Interesting indeed. If you remember my introduction, I said ladies are out there in sport to showcase that whatever a man can do, a lady can do even better.
Definitely.
Am I right?
Definitely. That's exactly how it is.
When last did you speak to your mother?
This morning before I left.
Is it? What did you talk about?
We spoke about... actually, I went on a hike with her earlier this morning. We went on a nice morning hike together. So we were just on the hike, getting fitness. But then we came home, we had lunch, and then we had to go.
How do you address her? Do you call her mommy, mother?
She's my mommy.
Mommy?
Yeah.
Mommy, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I've got your star motorsport driver here, Chloe Stewart. What kind of a daughter is she?
She's an absolute dream of a daughter. We have a really close relationship. She makes parenting easy. She really does. She's so passionate and so kind and just generally an amazing person that I look up to.
Share a moment with us where she did well and became a champion, and how did you celebrate that victory?
Well, the first time she won a karting race, I was there. I remember I was so thrilled and overcome with emotion. She had a goal, actually, that if she won that race when she was younger, she was going to get a puppy. But I just remember her running off and me hugging her. How thrilled I was for her happiness.
Incredible indeed. How do you feel? I can see tears of joy about to drop.
Well, it's very nice to have my mom on the call. I love that she's here with us. Mentally, physically, pretty much there. She's one of my biggest inspirations. I look up to my mom every day. She's one of the strongest women I know. So,
what would you like to say to her?
I love you, mommy.
I love you too, pretty girl.
Mommy, before we let you go, we also have your husband on board. Braberi, what would you like to say to your loving wife?
Oh, just thank you always for the support and also for the understanding. Racing it's a lifestyle. It's not just a commitment of one race, 2 races. It becomes a lifestyle where you many days a week. We miss a lot of functions, a lot of personal functions. We sacrifice a lot, not just financially. We sacrifice a lot of time to be with Chloe, to travel with her, to see with her, and it's just for a lot of the understanding that the whole family has.
Interesting indeed. Dear Mama, thank you so much for making it so special for your awesome daughter, Chloe Stewart, right here on Africa at Play.
Thank you so much.
15:23 Central African time. That's the mother to our teenager in sport, Chloe Stewart. How do you feel with that surprise? You never saw that one coming, right?
I didn't see that one coming, but I love that. It was a very good surprise. I love my parents. They're both so supportive, especially my mom, my biggest cheerleader, and my dad. my partner in crime. So
And
that was a
just-
very nice surprise. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Your final word as we say goodbye. What would you like to say to listeners out there?
Everyone out there who does racing, just remember that once you're in the car, you're a driver. And what I always like to say is race me, not my gender. So it must be equal. Everyone's got their own thing. Everyone's got their own passion. And if you're a lady in any sports, just push through. Don't listen to the haters. And you've got this. A female can do anything a male can do, if not better.
You've also made my heart very warm when you spoke about your sister to say she's into netball, and I'm just happy that she's not into gadgets that much, but she also plays a sport. Have you witnessed her in action, and what kind of a netball player is she?
I have witnessed her in action. She did play throughout the whole of primary school. She's going into high school next year, and she's going to be in netball again. And she's a very good player, in my opinion. She's very good at wing attack. That's her position. She's a good defense as well. But it's very nice to watch your sibling do very well and be successful.
How old is she?
She is 12, turning 13.
And what's her name?
Casey Stewart.
Casey Stewart. If she's listening to this conversation, what would you like to say to her?
Hey, Casey. You've got this. You're really good at netball. And you're one of the prettiest people I know.
Casey, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Hi, Chloe.
Casey.
How are you doing, Casey? Casey.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. What kind of a sister is Chloe?
One of the best sisters you'll ever get.
Interesting indeed. Sweet and short. And she speaks highly of you, so continue being a good sister, okay?
Okay.
Like to say to Chloe before we say goodbye.
Good luck.
Good luck. There you have it from a caring sister. Casey, thank you so much. Have an awesome afternoon further and all the best in school.
Thank you, you too.
As we wrap up this conversation, Chloe, how's life at school and what grade are you on? What are your plans moving forward with tertiary institutions knocking shortly?
I'm in grade 10. School's going very well at the moment. We're finishing term 3. We're going to go into term 4 next term, which is exams. School, I do pretty decently in. I mean, I have a pretty solid average. And tertiary education, I'm not aiming anywhere specifically. If I do get into educational academy, it'll be something to do with racing or motorsport. Maybe tertiary education with engineering or mechanics. So definitely something towards the motorsport career.
Wow, it is exciting to speak to a driver who also wants to know what's happening mechanically, because once you have best of both worlds, no one will touch you. Thank you so much for pulling through to Africa at Play. All the best moving forward.
Thank you so much for having me.
Exciting indeed. Braberi, thank you so much for the moral support. You know, I always say to athletes that comes with their parents, they're fortunate because there are those athletes who are talented out there, but with no parental support for various reasons. And we are always grateful when parents are still around, giving that necessary moral support. And like she said, partner in crime, you're doing the most out there.
Thank you very much.
That's how we wrap up our Teenager in Sport conversation with Mr. Barry Stewart, the father to our Teenager in Sport. That is Chloe Stewart, a 16-year-old amazing and talented motorsport driver. And we wish her nothing but the best. This is Africa at Play. Astelel Siashai.
Exclusive to Africa at Play on Channel Africa. Teenagers in Sports with Neto Chemane.
Es-tu préoccupé par quelque chose? Es-tu passionné par les questions qui comptent? As-tu une voix qui mérite d'être entendue? Eh bien, nous avons la plateforme parfaite pour toi. Téléphone-nous ou fais-nous un WhatsApp au +27 66 408 87 42 et nous te rappellerons. Sois dans la conversation.
Salut Channel Africa, ici Beno le diamant rouge et Binal Sport depuis le Cameroun, le pays des lions, voilà.
Sois dans la conversation. Il ne s'agit pas seulement de parler, mais c'est ta chance d'exprimer ton point de vue, de partager tes opinions et de t'engager avec une communauté qui valorise ton avis. Suivez-nous sur les réseaux sociaux, visitez notre site www.channelafrica.co.za et préparez-vous à partager vos points de vue sur Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Weekends just got better. Only on Channel Africa.
Chivundu. JJ Pierre. Lokuta eyaka na ascenseur, vérité et un escalier pe koumi. Sidonie Kotoklo, Tchétché Tchernobyl, le prophète de la sape. Makoto et solution Ezouama. Mokolo Bilanga, Kombo Nangali Yandi. Bango Bazaki na Masasi, kasi bakoki koboma ngai te. Christiane Akwasi.
(15:32) Central African Time. It is an awesome song titled Loise by the legendary Kofi Olomide. At the age of 69, he still dances like he's only 16, so there's no excuse. You can also do the same, all the way from Congo, singer and songwriter. Let's now go to Lusaka, Zambia, and touch base with our correspondent Namuchana, who's having a conversation on our topic of the day, where we speak about poverty that can be dealt with aggressively if we invest in sport. And we're asking the big question: is Africa doing its part to make certain that we deal with poverty through sport? Let's find out from Namuchana and the pundits on this conversation. You can drop us your WhatsApp or voice note on the number +27 63 406 9126. My name is Neto Chemane.
Sport has a remarkable impact in dealing with challenges like poverty and low percentage of employment. The success of an athlete in Africa benefits various communities through plowing back programs to disadvantaged areas by these elite stars, while participation in sports improves one's health and fitness. We are asking, has sport played the role of reducing poverty in Africa? I have with me Pritchard Ngoma, General Secretary, Zambia Netball Association. Sir Pritchard, thank you so much for having taken time to talk to us. Has sport played that role of reducing poverty in Africa? What are your views?
Very, very positive question. Yes, with netball, I think we've observed through our strategic plan how sport has evolved through the upside development structure, how people have transformed from beginners level to elite level, and what has happened when they've gotten up to elite level. Case in point is like our under 21 national team, for argument's sake. Only 5-6 years ago, around 2018, they were under the community structure in Chibolia and the various places. Today, as I speak, 4 of those athletes that were participating under the Chibolia upside today are in the under 21 national netball team that is going to participate at the 2025 Gibraltar World Youth Cup next week. Yes, through netball activity, they've gone on to be employed. As at last year, they were employed by Correctional Service. They are now based in Kabwe, but currently training with the under 21 team, preparing for the Gibraltar Games. So indeed, it has transformed. It is capable of changing lives. It has changed lives in Zambia. A lot of the players that are in the netball teams playing for defense teams are a product of the upside development structure and have been employed. So we've seen transformation in that area from the netball circles.
Mr. Ngoma, thank you so much for having taken time to talk to Channel Africa. That was the General Secretary, Zambia Netball Association, Mr. Pritchard Ngoma, talking to us. We also got the views of Chandalusha, former Zambia national soccer team player, on our program today.
In my view, it hasn't played a bigger role. Only a few, yes, have benefited, but it's not a big scope or where poverty has been eradicated permanently. There is a very big gap. There are only certain individuals who have come on board to help out in this area. For this, poverty to be eradicated, you need to have infrastructure in place. Do you have enough infrastructure whereby you cast your net out there, you go in the deep, look for these people who are vulnerable, those who are living in poverty, you get them and take them to where the infrastructure is. If you say here in Africa, the country, how many sports arenas are there? Only a few. Morocco is trying to come on board. They're trying by all means to bring each and every child who is languishing, who is living in poverty, at least to have something in as far as sports is concerned. Different, scenario for sports, be it boxing, be it football, swimming. There are so many sports activities that one can do. But it has come to that part where poverty has been eradicated or taken away. It is still there. The gap is just too big. In certain countries, we have certain individuals coming on board, remembering there are all schools where they were, brought up. There are compounds where they grew up. They do one or two things. It's only a certain compound or a certain school or a certain hospital which is benefiting. It's not the entire, country. So if we can have individuals coming on board, let's say we have 10 sportsmen, good footballers, 100 of them. Just giving an example, if we have 100 of them and each one of them builds sports arena, you talk of 100 sports arenas. Then you invite these so-called vulnerables, those who are living in poverty, to come and try their luck, come and expose themselves to the world as far as sports is concerned. That's how they do it. Even in Europe, this is how they do it. They build infrastructure, they put buildings in place, stadiums, yes, boxing and arenas. Let the children go there. Those who don't have an opportunity even to go to school, but they've got the talent, they go there. Their lives at the end of the day, I talk of the day. But it all comes back to the infrastructure. Let's try by all means in Africa to build sports infrastructure, to eradicate poverty is everywhere. In Africa, that's the talk of the day. It has brought chaos. People are dying of hunger. But if one can survive through sport, that will be good. If we can have people coming on board, emphasizing too much on this, government getting involved, making implementations in as far as infrastructure are concerned, then poverty will slowly be disappearing. But at the moment, though, it's only 2 out of 10. So a smaller percentage that is being looked at. So it's my prayer that going forward, let's try by all means come up with proper infrastructure, proper arenas where these children, vulnerables, will be taken to. And who knows, they can find their way there. Europe is open nowadays. Once you have talent, you are going to be safe. So that's the way forward to go. Even here in Africa, we are seeing these things happening. The gap is just too big. People are still languishing in poverty. So sport hasn't yet done what is supposed to be done. It's only a small fraction which is being looked at. So if we can have something like 9 out of 10, that would be good. It's all about the infrastructure. that we need to put in place. Thank you so
The
much.
views of Chanda Lusha. What are the views of Wes Mazunda, sports analyst?
In a way, yes. In a way, no. Yes, depending on those who get to be successful from the sport itself, get to make it, sports stars, make money from their sports, become big brands, and invest in the monies that they have, and they plow back to their communities. Yes, sporting events. Well, like a football club, yes, if a football club is successful, it's going to employ people in various departments, technical, administration, every other aspect of the club that's going to need, or any other sport in general, whatever you need if you develop your premises. It has, to some extent, it has, but the levels of poverty are still high because it's just a percentage. Why is it just a small percentage? Because sport in Africa is not really heavily invested into. Why am I saying so? Let's look at a country like Morocco. Morocco up north, they've invested so heavily in sports, so heavily. Morocco will just wake up today and say, we're going to host this event. We're going to host that event. We're going to host that, which is good for the economy of the country. Why has that happened? You have the infrastructure. You have everything they need. It's just off the top of your head. They'll say, you need just there. So it's motivating everybody to work hard and to buy into this vision of making lives better for everybody else. So that has been the greatest challenge and cry for Africa, working on infrastructure development, building sports infrastructure, investing in sports, putting money in sports. Every time you sit down in Africa, the scenario right now is every time you sit down and you look at the huge investments coming into countries, sports will not rank first. In most countries, it will not rank first. In most countries, some, yes, are doing very good job, but others, it will not rank. And that tells you something, because even when you look at sporting events, you look at the countries that will be reaping medals. So you see the type of countries that are doing it so, like competing ably out there in the world. From Africa, you'll be able to tell why they do so well, because of the infrastructure that they have. So invest in infrastructure, sporting infrastructure, what can help complement the sporting infrastructure for that particular country to host international events, bring in people, market the tourism of the country, put the country on the map so that money is made out of sport. Sport becomes an investment. I think that way, with such a direction, looking in such aspects, that is what would help reduce poverty drastically. But as it is, yes, it's try and error here and there. The ones who are lucky, the few percentages, that get out of it with the little that you have struggling, which shouldn't be the case. Everybody should get to have that opportunity with the best facilities in all provinces. You look at the country, give the best facilities to all provinces. Not that this particular group has to move from one province to another. Maybe you come to the towns that are along the line of rail where you find the good opportunities. No, but you don't even need to see the need to get to a place where there's those facilities. Those facilities are just spread out all over the country. Give opportunity to the youth. I still insist the strength is of a nation's wealth in sport is in the youth. The youth. Invest in the youth. You'll never go wrong. Thank you very much.
The views of Wes Mazunda. Sport has a remarkable impact in dealing with challenges like poverty and low percentage of employment. The success of an athlete in Africa benefits various communities through plowing back program to disadvantaged areas by these elite stars, while participation in sport improves one's health and fitness. We were asking, has sport played the role of reducing poverty in Africa? We had Richard Ngoma, General Secretary, Zambia Netball Association, Wes Mazunda, sports analyst, and Chandarusha, former Zambia national soccer team player. For Channel Africa Sports, I'm Chana from Zambia.
AUSISA, the Association of Water and Sanitation Institution of South Africa, is a platform uniting Africa's water professionals. This November, Africa leads the conversation on water and sanitation. Join global and African leaders at the AUSISA Africa and Global South Dialogue 2025 from the 9th till the 12th of November at the Emperor's Palace, Johannesburg. From policy innovation, this is where action meets collaboration for a water-secure future. Register today at ausisa-watersan-dialogue.org or follow at AUSISA on social media. AUSISA, working together for sustainable water and sanitation security in Africa. Where champions rise and legends are made. Join Neto Chemane on Africa at Play, only on Channel Africa.
15:42 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. It's time to find out what are your thoughts on the voice notes. Let's start with Nande Jobodwana with a comment on our topic of the day, where we are talking about poverty that can be addressed through sport. And we're asking, has Africa done its part to address poverty through sport?
Sport is a very fundamental platform, especially for kids growing up in rural areas, township areas, places where kids are disadvantaged, we need to remember before we say sport is a money-making scheme, sport is a discipline. You know, you need to wake up, you need to practice, it gives you an activity. Sport is an activity. Now, yes, sport plays a major role. I'll give you an example. I am from the township of Mdantsane. Mdantsane, we've seen a lot of boxers growing up, being healthy, and feeding their families. You know, I won't talk the logistics of what happens after, but a lot of kids grow up in sport. I'll give you another example. We speak of women rugby. Most of those women were kids who couldn't find a job, who did not want to be pregnant, were struggling to support their families. But because they played rugby, or because they had a will to play rugby, today they find themselves in the Springbok squad. So sport is an integral part in society. Sport is discipline. Sport is food in the table. You know, sport plays a fundamental role in growing our societies. When you can't afford education, sport is a tool. Let me leave it there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you to Nande Jabadwana for a good contribution there through his voice note on our topic of the day. Let's take one more from Apiwe Ngwenya.
Okay, play. This is Apiwe Ngwenya. For me, I do not think that it has alleviated poverty that much. But I mean, we also, at the same token, can't really take away the impact sport has had in uplifting the lives of these athletes that do come from disadvantaged backgrounds, and also giving their communities someone to look up to, and in knowing that they can also get out of this poverty. But unfortunately, a lot of money is not available in terms of sponsorship um, to helping these athletes. So any money that they get, they need to get themselves into competition, they need to travel, and by the time they get paid, they are returning money into their own pockets, you know, because they pay their way into doing a lot of their own things. Apart from your footballers, especially if they're playing in Europe, they're the ones that are able to then give back to their communities in which they grew up in creating sporting facilities, and maybe building a school, maybe building libraries, etc., buying uniforms, giving away scholarships, you know. So it's your footballers that are playing abroad that can sponsor such things, but African-based athletes, even if they're doing well, especially the track and field, if you look at the track and field athletes across Africa or East Africa specifically, they may be doing well if you look at, you know, your world championships and your Olympics, but individually they're not earning as much as they should be if you had to compare them with your like your American track athletes. You know, they don't have those type of sponsorships because they don't have that type of coverage, you know, in the media, in social in any like digital marketing, social media, etc. They don't have that presence, so big marketing brands aren't exactly lining up to sponsor them, nor do their governments have the money to actually sponsor them and paying their way forward, allowing them to give back to their communities.
15:47 Central African Time. That is Apiwe Ngwenya sharing her views on our topic of the day, where we're talking about sport, which has a remarkable impact in dealing with challenges like poverty and low percentage of employment. A success of an athlete in Africa benefits various communities through plowing back programs to disadvantaged areas by these elite athletes, while participation in sport improves one's health and fitness. And the big question we are asking is, has sport played the role of reducing poverty in Africa? Let's take one more voice note from Anele Ngusane, a football development coach in Zimbabwe.
Yes, my brother. Sport has done remarkable well in that regard, where poverty and low employment percentage, that has affected Africa for a very long time. In other parts, where sports can reach out, it has done well. I would say it has proven over the years that sport has the power, has the capability to unite even enemies. Sport has done that. Sport has achieved that. Thank you, King. Have a good day.
Anele Nxosani, let's take one more voice note from Bongani Chuma, a football commentator.
Good afternoon, Neto and the listeners. This is Bongani Chuma from Lenasia. Great show as always. Look, Neto, the likes of Didier Drogba, Samuel Eto'o, Emmanuel Adebayo, Sadio Mane, we've seen them build schools, hospitals, hospices, and also other sporting facilities where people are able to escape uh, things like drugs and substance abuses because they've got recreational facilities that have been donated by those top athletes that I've mentioned. So when you look at sports in general, has a very big role to play, including also building a social cohesion to communities or the country as a whole or the continent as a whole. So we need more of this plowing back to the communities by anyone who is privileged, who has the means to give those kind of facilities. Thank you.
Let's take another voice note from Isaac Gumbi, who is a creative genius doing the most out there in the creative space. He is a great actor that performs at various institutions and events. Let's find out what are his thoughts.
Mr. Neto, Africa's velvet voice. So here's my 2 cents about sport playing a role in poverty, right? I believe that sport is a life changer, right? It gives back to communities. It gives back to athletes that want to improve their lifestyles, from their health to them generating wealth, right? Especially the ones that come from disadvantaged backgrounds. They literally have a better life that they live through sports, right? And seeing someone that is close to you, it sparks hope to those that aspire, the young kids, the ones that believe with you. This is something that is so far-fetched, but if it can happen to someone that's close to me, it might just be possible for me as well. So definitely, sport does change poverty, not just in a materialistic sense, but also in the mindset, you know. So yeah, as Delil Siashai.
As Delili Siashaya, Isaac Gumbi sharing his thoughts on our topic of the day. One more voice note from Yvonne from Zimbabwe. Let's find out what are his thoughts. We will be taking a short break after this voice note, and we will connect with an athletics legend, Munya Marayire, who is a former athlete himself and the CEO and founder of Worldwide Scholarships, WWS, to talk all things athletics on the African continent and globally.
Hi, Neto. It's been a minute. It's Yvonne here from Midrand. So I do believe that sport has played a very important role of not only alleviating poverty, but creating opportunities for those who are able to be scouted in time and taken from a place of disadvantage to a place of advantage. So I would say it has made a remarkable impact with dealing with such issues. We see the likes of the different African players that now play in the European League or who now play for national countries. They were found from these smaller leagues or from, basic football down the street corner by a scout or someone of interest to put a word out there for them. So yes, sport plays a very important part. I wish we would advocate more for that for our children and our children's children, in the sense that not every child is academically brilliant, but others have exceptionally and amazing talent in rugby. Sia Kolisi is one of those legendary stories of being taken from nothing to something. So I think he stands as an epitome of
you can do anything. And a lot of South African athletes, like the young athlete now, um, the grade 12 was in the 4 by 1 last year, or was it early this year? That goes to show that sport, when taken seriously, can truly break boundaries of poverty, and it can also create opportunities for those who were never going to be recognized in the percentage of kids who've got abilities to play sport, not being affiliated with any private school. So, yes, it is a very powerful tool to take us all out of poverty and create that space of inclusion for those who are already excluded due to their income.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
180 minutes on the world of sports and music. That's Africa at Play with Neto, Neto Chemane on Channel Africa from an African perspective.
15:54 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play, the continent's best sport and music destination. We now welcome to the conversation Munya Marayire, an athletics legend, a gentleman who's devoted his life to the world of athletics. He is the founder and the chief executive officer of Worldwide Scholarships, shortened for WWS, an institution that is doing the most out there, elevating African athletes, identifying talent, and organizing opportunities for these athletes to make it on an elite level, getting scholarships in different parts of the world. We will be talking about all things athletics, the World Athletics Championships currently underway in Tokyo, Japan, and a shift that we are witnessing, the changes in the landscape of university sports overseas, notably in the United States of America, with athletes getting paid. And I'm just wondering how many years it's going to take for our own African universities to start paying elite athletes that are doing wonders and bringing podium finishes to these institutions. Mr. Marayire, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Good afternoon, Neto. Again, thanks for such an amazing introduction, and thank you for having us on again.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's always incredible conversations with you when talking athletics, not just on the African continent, but globally. Let's talk about the banning issue, which I believe it is a great step, where we're noticing a landscape of change with athletes in universities, notably in the USA, getting paid. And I'm just wondering, how many decades is that going to take for the African continent to exercise the same method? Because it's just good, and it speaks to our topic of the day, where we're saying, is sport doing its part on the African continent in reducing poverty?
So thanks for that. So look, in a nutshell, for the past 3 years, the landscape of the United States platform where universities are involved made a seismic shift, because, many of the athletes realized that, look, they were the gladiators, if I may use that terminology, in the sport, and were the ones that were making, the different universities to make millions of dollars from TV sponsorships and deals, etc. And basically what happened is a few athletes decided to go to court, and in summary, the court case was won, and the NCAA institutions and universities have now decided, and according to the court judgment, that they have to start paying it's $20.5 million per university towards all the different sporting codes that are involved at the universities. So because of that shift, now there are more university scholarships available now for students. There's more funding available, and when kids are really, really talented, they also now have the opportunity to use their name, image, and likeness and from getting sponsorship options as well from brands. So you find the big brands like Nike, Adidas, etc., have now begun to sign high school students as well as to sign university top athletes to big branding opportunities, because it's now the time where youngsters are getting paid in university. And as Worldwide Scholarships, we are at the front of that on the African continent, and working with international students as well from Europe and Asia, New Zealand and Australia, to help them to also get themselves linked up with these shifts and these opportunities that are now available for young athletes.
And looking at opportunities for athletes from the African continent from this big initiative, are we likely to see universities on the African continent go in the same direction? Because in Africa, there's always a big outcry when it comes to funding.
Neto, to be honest with you, Africa, sadly, and I don't know why, we are sadly always late to the game. And look, with us on the ground, basically putting these things together, I'm sure some of the African universities now wake up to the opportunity that is there. But remember that the landscape of African universities playing against each other in competitive sport is one that would then generate that kind of interest and that kind of brand need, if I can put it that way, for people to see the business opportunity in sponsoring athletes to compete university versus university. I think Varsity Cup have done a very good job in South Africa with that, but what needs to be done is literally an Africa-based league with universities competing on a consistent basis for this to make a lot of sense.
1600 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are officially entering into the third and final hour of Africa at Play. We are in the middle of a hot athletics conversation with an athletics legend, a former athlete himself, Munya Marayire, and a CEO and founder of Worldwide Scholarships, also known as WWS. Mr. Marayire, talking about WWS, and we are also talking about action that is currently underway in Tokyo, Japan, the World Athletics Championships. Who are some of the athletes from WWS that are representing the African continent at the Global Championships currently underway?
So, to be honest, few to zero of the athletes that are in the current national team are athletes that we have actually worked with as seniors, but many of them have gone through several of our junior programs. I know Wade Vanikak and Akani Simbini went to Jamaica, which is a relationship that was opened with Usain Bolt's club by Worldwide Scholarships many years ago. And I think that planted a seed. After that, Wade went on to break the world record, and Akani has never been the same again since that. Outside of that, we have just been a part of just developmental advising to several athletes.
Jamaica is very close to your heart, and not many of our listeners know why. Please tell us why.
My mother is Jamaican. Half of my family is from Jamaica. We were the reason why Bob Marley came to Africa for the liberation struggle in 1980. To Zimbabwe as well. My mom was the one that helped orchestrate that for the Zimbabwean government.
And looking at the calendar of athletics on the African continent and globally, the WWS representatives, who are some of the athletes that are raising the flag high?
Look, right now you've got youngster Karabo Letebele, who has done incredible as a junior athlete, raising the flag of South Africa, as well as also doing some incredible things on the international level. He's someone we're very excited about going forward into the future, as he's now looking towards university scholarship opportunities, going to the United States of America. Another senior athlete who has turned his life around is Luvo Manyonga, who we've begun to help, a former world champion and Olympic silver medalist in the long jump. He will be doing some amazing things, we know, next year, as this year was more of getting him back into the swing of things. And we're also working in the world of football. We're also working in the world of field hockey, and looking for other athletes that are going to come through from the different areas of the continent. Currently, we're actually looking at running a continent-wide talent identification element, where we are going to bring together at least 4 corners of the continent, and we're going to this year run some talent identification events where we invite high school kids from all over in the different sports of soccer, basketball, athletics, field hockey, and basically look for the next trajectory of talent that we know is out there, and this needs again to be found and to be put through seasoned programs. We're also working with FIFA to bring international tournaments, obviously with the emphasis on women's football, and looking at how we can create more meaningful pathways for the youngsters of Africa, because right now it seems like every time an African athlete makes it, it's by chance or by mistake. And what we're going to do is ensure that we have very well mapped out pathways that go from grassroots level all the way to professional level.
16:04 Central African Time. We're still talking about athletics on the African continent and globally. Helping us to do so is the legend himself when it comes to athletics, Monya Marayire, who is also the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, and founder of Worldwide Scholarships, WWS. And this is an institution that works very closely with the Confederation of African Athletics in making certain that African talent does not go unnoticed. And he just touched on the talent identification program that is still happening across the African continent and still coming up in different sporting codes. Talent identification, Mr. Marayire, is heartwarming, especially looking at the African numbers when it comes to the ongoing World Athletics Championships, where we are not seeing a big contingent from the African continent if you break it down to different countries. But when you look at the USA, always on top of the things in terms of making certain that they bring big numbers in different disciplines. What is still lacking for Africa to take full advantage of the vast talent that we have on the African continent and go to these events with a big contingent to create more chances of podium finishes, but also more career opportunities for African athletes?
So Neto, I think in Africa we're in big trouble because the younger leaders are either in the Shabins, or the older leaders are busy using the resources of the federations to travel the world and enjoy themselves. So we've got big problems, and part of the ethos and the direction of Worldwide Scholarships right now is that we want to ensure that we bring the corporate community behind these athletes to be able to ensure that, you can match, a deal that, Nike gives, USA Athletics $100 million, for 4 years, in order for them to be able to develop athletes step by step. So you can imagine Africa doesn't even have that for the whole continent, let alone one country. So these are the things. Resource mobilization is very important to get behind the athletes, the resources needed to be able to help them to develop. Right now you've got a lot of well-wishers, you've got a lot of coaches that some of them work for free, helping athletes to get to the next level. And the more that we begin to understand that sports is business, and that not only is it business, but if it's a business, that means those that are making it work need to be remunerated and paid for their services. And this is what we need to do as Africa in order to be able to ensure that there are more people on the podium. Because when you find youngsters from the villages or from lower class families, they need to be supported. Immediately, the funding needs to be in place for them to eat, train, travel, get rehabilitated when they're injured, as well as for them to travel across overseas to get the opportunities. So this is where we are behind as the African continent. And look, we are on the ground as Worldwide Scholarships. We're going to make things happen as best we can in our little corners that we have, that we are involved in. and continue to make sure that the narrative is changed on the African continent, because we surely have the youngest continent, which means the next world champions, if not this year, are supposed to come from the African continent.
Indeed, greatness coming from the African continent and excellence is always welcomed. Talking about the challenges on the African continent, clearly 5 years is not enough to say 5 years later a lot will have changed, but perhaps it's safe to look at the end of a decade. What do you think the athletics on the African continent will look like a decade later
So,
from now?
you know, Neto, it's actually interesting that you say. Look, it's interesting you say that, because you know, sports is a very interesting thing. It is not like other industries which need a decade. Literally, if you put the right infrastructures and the right people in place, you know, things can happen very rapidly. You know, athletes can become world champions within 1 year of them being found, within 1 year of them being, you know, trained. You know what I mean? So you just have to make sure you've got the right people on the ground, and within 5 years things can supernaturally change. It can change, you know, but again, it needs people on the ground that are motivated, that decide that they need to get behind these initiatives to make them happen.
Interesting indeed, and you're raising a very solid point, but also to my point is that 5 years ago I've had conversations on the admin disorders when it comes to sport on the African continent, and half a decade later we're still having those conversations because not the correct personnel is always placed in crucial positions to take athletics and sports in general to another level. But with the absence of WWS and many other stakeholders out there that are sharing the same vision, we remain optimistic that there will be rapid change. Before I say goodbye to you, your parting shot?
The parting shots for me would be, let's not give up on our motherland. You know, we are on the ground, as we have said, and every year we are doing more. The bigger we get, the more we can do. And I mean, you know, again, there needs to be a change in most of the leaderships that are across the continent in these federations. Luckily, I don't need them for my own sustenance, but many that do need them don't speak the truth and speak what needs to be said. Is that really there needs to be a seismic change in the different leaderships in order for us to be able to develop. There are many young leaders that can do the job. And, you know, this is me inspiring many of those young leaders who want to be presidents of different federations and associations, that they must step up and get involved, because Africa needs them, you know, and Africa needs the youth to lead the youth.
And talking about walking the talk, could you have been influenced by the state of athletics on the African continent to title one of your songs Walking Talking? I know a lot of people do not know that you are an artist too, but today they'll get to know. Mr. Maraire? All right, it looks like we've lost that line to Mr. Marayire. He is an artist too. And let's wrap up this conversation with
I
one
think
of
I'm missing you there. Am I back?
Yes, you are back. I was saying you were talking about walking the talk in terms of leaders in the space of athletics and sport on the African continent. And I'm looking at the title of your song, Walking Talking, which could easily translate to Walk the Talk. Could this title have been influenced by the challenges out there where you are encouraging everyone in crucial positions to walk the talk?
For sure. You know, it's more that song was written more also on dealing with those that are your haters or people that are against you. That what you need to do is just keep on going on while they talk, you know. Because so many, as you said, 5 years ago, we're having the same conversation. 5 years ago, there's still the same people in leadership that don't make any changes, don't make any shifts, you know, continue to do the same thing. So again, yes, for sure, Walking Talking was a song that can definitely point, and if the shoe fits for someone that's listening here, they must wear it.
Thank you so much. Awesome conversation with Mr. Munya Marayire, who is an athletics legend, CEO and founder of Worldwide Scholarships, WWS, and an artist too. Mr. Marayire, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. Munya Marayire, walking the talk, coming your way.
I keep on walking on my way to my dreams. Walking while they're talking. You find me walking while they're talking. You find me. Me don't want no drama. I keep moving Musana. Hey, like a virus spreading. My success is on fire. Whoa, we go higher. The devil's a liar. We go conquer and we'll never retire. Hey. I see you talking about me. I keep on walking on my way to my dreams. Walking while they're talking. You find me walking while they're talking. You find me. People that make time to test me. That energy gets deflected. See the police trying to arrest me. Cause of the rumors amazing. I believe we working hard, we sleepless, yeah, we working smart. No delays, putting all our heart. We make moves and at the work very hard. I see you talking about me. Yeah. I keep on walking on my way to my dreams. Walking while they're talking. You find me walking while they're talking. You find me. I see you talking about me. I keep on walking on my way to my dreams. Walking while they're talking. You find me walking while they're talking. You find me. See you talking about me. Yeah. On my way to my dreams.
16:15 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play, as we're now connecting with Tony Tonero Ubani, our Lagos-based correspondent from Nigeria. So, Ubani, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Thank you so much, the Government Voice.
Let's start with what happened earlier in the week in the FIFA World Cup African qualifiers, where we witnessed South Africa's Bafana in a tense battle against the Super Eagles of Nigeria, sharing points in that match. A match that was interesting indeed. I used to think that Hand of God ended in 1986 when Diego Maradona scored in the FIFA World Cup quarterfinals against England. But from what I've seen with my eyes in that match, it looked like that equalizer from the Super Eagles came from the head to the hand and to the back of the net, of course, in the absence of VAR. What did Tony Ubani see?
The Velvet Voice, what I saw what he saw, but I think whatever we saw was different from what the referee saw. And of course, that's the final arbiter. Honestly, I think that goal was allowed perhaps because of the fact that there was no VAR. Even those that we were all watching the game with, they all screamed. We were waiting that perhaps the referee was going to overturn it, but unfortunately did not. But be that as it may, I must say that despite the 1-1 draw, the Super Eagles and of course the officials have been on fire out here in Nigeria. Almost everybody has really been very screaming and of course calling for the heads of those who administer sports in Nigeria, the Nigeria Football Federation. It just wasn't about South Africa. Everybody thought that indeed, that Nigeria was going to get something out, something positive from the South African match. Of course, that was just the belief of almost everybody, because if they did, that would have turned the tables and, of course, make sure that indeed Nigeria will be come back to the game. But as it was, playing 1-1, the advantage to South Africa is very much. And indeed, if people continue to wait for FIFA and thinking about docking 3 points, which FIFA has not answered yet, but even if they do that, South Africa will still be on top. And even after that to Republic of Benin, where Genetro, former Super Eagles coach, is all falling breathing down on South Africa. So the chance of a third person, coming from the ladder and overturning the others, it's not possible. Out here in Nigeria, everybody have turned on, to let mathematicians, a lot of calculations, permutations. If South Africa lose one game, if they lose their two games, and you know how fast reason. When they think like that, you just ask them questions. What if Nigeria lose their two games? What happens? What if they lose their remaining one game out of the two? What happens? We understand the feelings, the emotions of football, but as it is, the advantage is in, for South Africa. And that, of course, makes so many people out here, ex-internationals, breathing down on administration. On this program, Neto, you will agree that we've talked so much on administration, killing football, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa. But I think that of Nigeria has an exception. That is why the Guild of Sports Editors in Nigeria, people who are on the top of managers of sports programs on press, media, and everywhere, they too have also issued a statement. And yours sincerely, Tony Uban is the president of the Guild of Sports Editors in Nigeria. And we are saying that time has come, for Nigeria to review those who run Nigerian football. It's unfortunate, that most of the people who run football in Nigeria do not have an idea of what it is to play football or have any idea of administration. But these things are gotten on party lines and party platforms. So that is why that they turn everything down. Nigeria, did not, got it wrong right from the beginning in the World Cup qualifiers. Remember when Finidi George came along and then, the meddlesome they had, even after Pesero left his job, not winning matches for the World Cup qualifiers. And of course, they muddled up with Finidi George. That was when they got it wrong. They left it too late. And now everybody is scrambling that Nigeria must be at the World Cup. But as it has dawned on us, Neto, it's very, very clear, that Nigeria is going to miss the World Cup back to back. Very, very unfortunate.
So, Bunny, in an event that Eric Chelle and his Super Eagles players managed to win the last two matches, match day 9 and match day 10 of the ongoing FIFA World Cup African qualifiers, do you think his contract will be safe? Because with what you've said, that the football gurus in Nigeria are calling for football in Nigeria to be reviewed in searching for great leaders who can take football in West Africa, Nigeria, to another level. Win or lose for Eric Chelle, could this mean that he will be shown the exit door because just missing out on a ticket to the World Cup already brings so much upset to the football lovers in Nigeria?
Yes, Neto, I think that victory, changes permutations. It changes, the mood of Nigerians. And if finally Nigeria made it to the World Cup, win their two matches and have a chance of qualifying, for the 2026 World Cup, Neto, I think that that script will be changed because almost everybody will definitely turn against you when you talk about changing the coach. People will be saying that they don't change a winning coach. And of course, we knew how the man came. When he came, things had already been, upside down. And if indeed he tries any magic of getting to the World Cup, I think that so many people are going to support him, even though there are a lot of people like Sunday Olise, former Super Eagles captain, who thinks that the man should not have been given a chance at all. We have seen him, and of course, from what we have seen, we saw him leading the Champ Eagles in the all-home-based African players, playing in a competition, and of course, we saw, that. He went there, and of course, honestly, he stumbled, crumbled, and of course, fumbled with the national team of Nigeria. And what we have seen so far with the senior national team, the Super Eagles, is nothing to write home about. But despite that, I think that if he qualifies Nigeria for the World Cup, I think that people will have a change of mind.
It will take a special performance by the Super Eagles to qualify for the FIFA World Cup because of South Africa's Bafana Bafana sitting on 17 points after 8 matches and the Super Eagles on 11 points. In an event that the Super Eagles wins their outstanding 2 matches, they will be on 17 points. And with Bafana left with 2 matches, I'm certain they will fight for victory in one of the 2 matches, and perhaps it will go back to the playoffs scenario where the Super Eagles will have to qualify as the second best kind of a scenario. But it is interesting times in African football indeed. Mr. Ubani, please do stay on the line. We take a short break and we'll wrap up our conversation with a conversation on athletics as Toby Umasane hits at athletics officials over poor kids.
Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mukwena@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
16:24 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, big ups for taking the best decision ever, choosing Africa's number 1. We are wrapping up a conversation with our correspondent based in Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa's finest, Tony Tonero Ubani. Say, Ubani, Toby Amusan, not an impressed man after, witnessing that the playing gear for athletics is just not of good quality.
Absolutely. We started this, I told you that this is not the best of time for administrators, be it in football and, of course, in athletics. It wasn't surprising that former world champion and women's 100 meters hurdle record holder Toby Amusan came up to criticize, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. Amusan voiced her concerns over what she perceived as unprofessionalism and a lack of coordination within the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. In a video that she shared on her Snapchat, Amusa said, unlike other countries that provide their contingents with kids in suitcases, the Nigerian government hands them their own kids in nylon bags with little or not insignificant in them. This country will steadily embarrass you. And of course, she went into pidgin English saying, "Una come say make people know switch allegiance," meaning, and you say people should not switch allegiance to other countries. You are never ready. Yeah, that means you are not ready yet. All the other countries, they gave their athletes suitcases. See what Nigeria used to pack kids for athletes. Every year, that's how we collect it inside one small nylon bag. They hardly complain about the quality of the competition there, saying they gave us everything too. And the competition gear that we wear, it's not even good enough. Where there is no long sleeve, no singlet, nothing. We never get clothes where we get to wear. There are no clothes for us to wear. And of course, that there are no shoes, that were included, despite the fact that our sizes were taken. So she was asking a lot of questions that nobody has dared to answer about the shoes and, of course, all the wears. Because most of what we see in Nigeria is that during big competitions like this, all these kits for athletes will not be given to the athletes. It has happened at the Commonwealth Games. It has happened at the Olympics. And, of course, these kits, Neto, you see them in the market. Immediately after the World Championship, you see these things. You can buy it anywhere in, Nigerian market. Then the question is, how do they get to the market when the athletes did not see them, to compete? I remember at the Tokyo Olympics, it was the same thing that happened, that athletes were washing their jerseys overnight so that they could use it the following day. It's an embarrassment. And of course, it don't boil down to administration. Nobody's checking them because politicians have taken over everything. They employ either their relatives or their party faithfuls. And those ones, what they get there, they are all about what they make and not, of course, what they can give to Nigeria. That's exactly what has put us here. And, of course, it has denied us a lot of medals and, of course, brought a huge embarrassment to the nation, NATO.
Admin disorders, admin cracks when it comes to sports on the African continent remains to be a very hot discussion on the table. Even if you avoid having this conversation, you end up in it because of just how disorganized many federations are when it comes to managing different sporting codes. And we keep wishing and hoping that good times will come. But a worrying factor is that you see a decade coming and going, and nothing much has happened in terms of progress when it comes to sport administration on the African continent. And that's why you will witness a scenario where Nigeria keeps losing good athletes like Favor Ofili, because some of the athletes, as soon as they realize that the situation is disorganized, it's as soon as they move for greener pastures abroad. So, Ubani, as we wrap up our conversation, what can we expect from Team Nigeria at the ongoing World Athletics Championships?
Despite the complaints of the hurdler Toby Amoto has already qualified for the finals, and of course, I think that's where any hope of getting a medal, will come from. Toby Amoto will be running in the finals, and we expect a medal. It's a medal that I cannot give you the color, but indeed, I've seen so many other athletes falling by the wayside. That there is another rookie that got to the 100-meter final, and of course, finished sixth. That's to us, that's an improvement, because that was his debut. And indeed, there are question marks. We need to things next, because there are a lot of athletes in Nigeria, even younger ones that are coming up. But then these younger athletes will not get, to see the podium, because they do not have anybody that is going to speak for them. If they do not have, higher people at the authorities who are governing or doing anything. That's exactly what is holding Nigeria back from sport. But as for talent, I think Nigeria have them in abundance.
Tony Robani, our correspondent based in Lagos, Nigeria. Before we say goodbye, your goodbye comment?
Yeah, I'll be looking forward, to the final by Sugi Amoto. But indeed, I think even if she gets a gold medal from the 100 meters hurdles, every other hope of any Nigerian is about the World Cup. So, as Nigerians, we keep our fingers crossed, hoping that perhaps there will be a miracle. Because for me, it is only a miracle that will see Nigeria qualify. When you talk about playoffs, the journey of the playoffs. When you go to the playoffs, if they could not get a ticket from, countries, from their group here, that of the continent would be like a cow going through the needle eye.
Tony Robani, never a dull moment when talking to him about all things African sport. So, Bani, all the best. Thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play, and let's hope for the best. But we do encourage that sports journalists in Nigeria have to keep challenging on these admin disorders so that the African continent can become a better land, because a career in sport is undoubtedly not a bad decision.
Thank you so much, Africa's Velvet Voice.
16:31 Central African Time. That's how we wrap up our conversation with Tony Robani, West Africa's finest, our correspondent based in Lagos, Nigeria, talking all things Nigerian and African sport. It's time for sports news, starting with motorsport. Ducati's Marco Marquez resisted the challenge of Aprila's Marco Bezzecchi to win the San Marino Grand Prix on Sunday, taking his revenge after crashing out of the lead in Saturday's sprint to inch closer to the MotoGP title. Bezzecchi had inherited victory in the sprint when Marquez crashed out. This time, however, the determined Spaniard overtook the Aprilia rider on lap 12, having started on the second row of the grid and never looked back. In rugby news, PAOK women's coach Swayze de Bruyne believes a giant is awakened in South African women's rugby after his side bowed out of the Rugby World Cup in the quarterfinals, having made it to the knockout stages for the first time in history. South Africa went down by 17-46 against defending champions New Zealand at Sandy Park on Saturday afternoon. Speaking at the post-match presser, de Bruyne praised his team's collective effort and resilience throughout the championship.
And it's just unreal. I've never worked with I've been blessed 38 years in professional rugby, I've never worked with a team like this. It's just a bunch of fighters. I cry every day of proud. You know, it's just unreal how they never moan. They just go, go, go. And they, that's just fantastic. They made, I think a giant has awakened in South African women's rugby. That's what I'm thinking. The way, Cindy, you and your ladies carried on, you made us proud.
South Africa scored 3 tries against Black Ferns and dominated to share spoils in the first half. De Bruyne says he is happy with how his players contained the game plan.
To our girls, we came with a plan and they bought in, and it was wonderful, wonderful to see. There was no questions why, and they loved the plan. And I'm happy. 3 tries. Ireland couldn't score one. Other teams battled their intercept tries. So for us to score 3 tries off worked moves is pleasing, I must say. It's very pleasing.
De Bruyne adds that he leads the national team not just to win games but to leave a legacy at every championship they participate in, and hopes that the next generation can take it a step further.
Big thing that since we beat the Black Ferns B team in the last test, and I think we scored 19 tries in this tournament up to now, which is we're not used to it. So I think the fact that we don't just play rugby to win. We want to make a difference now. It's more for us, more than just a game. It's about leaving a legacy, and I want to compliment this team. They did. The first team ever to win and to make a quarters, to score so many tries. That it's just JJ, media guy, knows the records and the stuff more, but it's just all the goals that we achieved. But just what they left behind is what counts. That's what sports is about at the end of the day, and that makes me proud.
Bok women captain Nolusindi Soboy played her final World Cup at age 40 and is pleased to have led the team to their first World Cup quarterfinal.
I'm very proud of the girls because, as Coach mentioned, that we always have a plan for everything. I feel like the first 40 minutes we were there, and could see from their faces they don't know what was coming, and we're buying in with whatever that we were given to do. It's such that some of the things we know they are like a good team, and congratulations to them because they just outclassed us on the second half, and learn from our mistakes, knowing that next time when the girls are coming to play the World Cup, they will be better. They will go to the finals for sure.
In football news, Orlando Pirates coach Abdeslam Ouaddou insists that winning the MTN 8 has not magically converted his critics into supporters, but believes the triumph shows his methods need time to bear fruits.
It worked, and it doesn't mean that I am a better coach than 2 months ago. I think maybe I'm still a brother or carpenter for many people. I don't think myself better than Steve Barker. I have a big respect for the coach. It's a very good coach and a very interesting team of Stellenbosch. It's a club that is very stable, very professional for a long time, and we're happy to win that trophy.
Pressed to elaborate, Ouaddou explained that even during his playing days in Europe, he often had to work twice as hard to prove himself as an African footballer.
I don't know if I have to go deep in that subject because we can have many interpretations, and I don't want that. I'm a peaceful man, and I love people. I love the life. I love the world. I love every country. But this victory, I'm happy for the players, I'm happy for my club, for the management, my chairman. I'm happy for the players, but it doesn't give me, more credit. Every day we have to prove, we have to win games, and it's like we have to show every time our competencies, and it's what I'm doing since I was in the academy. When I was 15 years old in the sport academy. If you deserve to play in Europe, you need to be 3 times better than an European player. So for me it's like that. I'm fighting since I am 15 years old about this, and now as a coach I still have to work hard, very hard, every morning, every day, just to show to the people that I am able to coach such a big club in Africa.
Stellenbosch FC coach Steve Barker, on the other hand, admitted the tie came down to impact from the bench.
As much as there's always lessons to be learned from losing, some of the lessons are positive lessons. So once again, I cannot fault the commitment of the players. We really gave it our best shot. We try to be positive, we try to be aggressive, we try to go pound for pound with Pirates. I've just got to be proud of what the players done. I just felt going into extra time, their sort of substitutions had a really good impact. Oswald Moremi, players like Mabasa, they were able to affect the game, and we just a little bit lost our way. I do think that had we sort of just maintained our intensity and energy up to the first half of extra time, I think we could have possibly then gone on. But as I said, we gave it our best shot. Some real positives, some great energy. Nice to have a player like Bradley Mujela back starting matches for us, playing the way he did. And some of the players showed real character, real courage in the face of adversity. So you always look at young players like Langali Shlepili coming on, being brave in extra time, taking the game to the opponents. And one or two of our new players, Tapelo Mokobodi, getting some minutes. So yeah, a little bit of cramp and a couple of injuries here sort of disrupted us slightly. But positives to take from the game. We just have to be proud of what we've done, but you also want to win games, so obviously we're a little bit flat and down right now.
Barker wrapped up by giving credit to how Pirates have assembled their squad this season, although he strongly believes that Stellies can be a threat too.
Yes, I do think lessons were learned. Once you get in, regularly into finals like we have, it's our third final in 3 seasons. Sometimes you may not win all of them, but what you do gain from being in finals is we also gaining our own experiences, and hopefully these experiences can stand us in good stead going forward. But you've got to look at Pirates. I mean, they've just had a number of players with the Bafana squad. Bafana's doing really well on the brink of qualifying. They've all got confidence. When you have the ability to start Mbule and to be able to bring in Apollos. They're a difficult team, and I felt we contained them well enough in the first 90 minutes. Our extra time today wasn't good enough.
Still with football, Barcelona manager Hansi Flick said the Spanish team should take better care of players after forward Lamine Yamal suffered a groin injury while on international duty. The 18-year-old Yamal will miss Sunday's La Liga home game against Valencia and is doubtful for next week's Champions League clash at Newcastle because of the injury. Flick told reporters on Saturday Yamal, widely regarded as one of the Barcelona's and Spain's best players, skipped training on Friday after complaining of discomfort. Flick said he already been carrying an injury and was given painkillers to play for Spain. The teenager who helped Spain to win the Euros last year played 152 minutes in World Cup qualifiers away to Bulgaria and Turkey last week, contributing 3 assists. Flick, who coached Germany before his appointment at Barcelona, said he did not speak to Spain coach Luis de la Fuente about the issue. Lastly, in boxing news, Terence Crawford clinched an unanimous victory over Saul Canelo Alvarez to become the undisputed super middleweight champion in a thrilling contest in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas yesterday. Crawford set the pace from the start with a measured display that showcased his incredible hand speed and precise footwork as the judges scored the fight 116 for 112, 115 for 113 and 115 for 113 clearly in favor of the American. The victory made Crawford the first male boxer to be crowned an undisputed champion in 3 different weight classes. 16:42 Central African time. We take a short break. When we come back, we will wrap up the show with a conversation with our Lusaka-based correspondent, Namuchana. This is Africa at Play. Astelele Siashai.
In this episode of Channel Africa Conversations, Peter talks to Dr. Thulisile Buda, an academic, author, and an expert in indigenous knowledge systems. Join us for a compelling discussion on preserving African languages and traditions in the digital era. Dr. Thulisile unpacks the role of educators, explorers, and how technologies like AI can support cultural preservation, and challenges us to rethink how we honor African heritage. You can find the episode on YouTube, SABC Plus, and on our website, channelafrica.co.za. This episode is a must-listen for educators, creators, and change makers across the continent. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Weekends just got better. Only on Channel Africa.
Malaika, nakupenda malaika. Malaika, nakupenda malaika. Ningekuwa mariwe, ningekuwa dada. Nashingana manisi nawe, ningekuwa malaika. Nashingana manisi nawe, ningekuwa malaika. Esa Sasudu aduhunyengu, esa Sasudu aduhunyengu, na minifonyeji kingana mwezinyo na shingana manisi nawe, ningekuwa malaika. Na shingana manisi nawe, ningekuwa malaika. Eba kidege kukuwaza kidege, kidege kukuwaza na kidege. Na minifonyeji kigana mwezinyo, na shingana manisi nawe jongli, ningekuwa malaika. Na shingana manisi nawe, ningekuwa malaika. Esa Zasudu aduhunyengu, esa Zasudu aduhunyengu, na minifonyeji kingana mwezinyo, na shingana manisi nawe, ningekuwa malaika. Nashingana mani sinawe Ningekuwa mamalaika Ningekuwa mamalaika Ningekuwa mamalaika
16:47 Central African Time, and nothing beats an effort when producing music. Malaika by Angelique Kidjo, legendary sound indeed. Talking about legendary stuff, we will be making way for Mix Vibration, and we've got a legend coming your way. That is Jolene Nsungu. Bonjour.
Bonjour Neto, effectivement, aujourd'hui sur Mix Vibration, j'ai le plaisir d'abord de voir la voix Velvet de Channel Africa. Et puis sur Mix Vibration, nous aurons un moment spécial avec beaucoup de musique africaine, comme nous l'avons promis à tous nos auditeurs. Et non seulement ça, nous avons un invité depuis la France, Iber Moutoumouema, qui lui sera notre invité sur Mix Vibration. Donc restez connectés, restez branchés, nous passerons de très bons moments sur Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
That energy tells a story that you will have a good company on Mix Vibration coming your way when Africa's Velvet Voice says goodbye. 16:48 Central African Time. Let's welcome Namuchana, our correspondent from Lusaka, Zambia, to wrap up the proceedings on Africa at Play. Mr. Namuchana, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
Yeah, good afternoon, and good afternoon to our listeners. And nice to listen to Angelique Kidjo, one of the finest brains ever to have come out of this continent.
Indeed, that is legendary stuff, indeed. Let's talk about FIFA World Cup African qualifiers. A disappointing run by Team Chipolo Polo. No ticket to the World Cup for Zambia. Oh, well, miracles, okay?
No, very disappointing, Neto. I'll tell you. Everybody hoped that maybe the Chipolo Polo boys will be able to beat Morocco and win their last two games against Niger and Tanzania so that they can make that cut to go into the playoffs. But alas, they failed to Morocco. They were beaten by Morocco by 2-0 at the Levi Manawasa Stadium. Very disappointing stuff. Though the team played a good football, I'll tell you, a good football is not enough. What matters are the results. If you're not able to produce results, even if you have to play good football, then there is nothing that you've done. Very disappointing, and we knew the start was bad. The moment that Zambia lost to Niger away in Morocco, that is where all the problems started, because you remember that Zambia beat Congo Brazzaville by 4-3 in their first match before playing Niger away in Morocco, and they were beaten by Niger 2-1. They were beaten by Morocco again by 2-1, and that's where the trouble started. And they lost to Tanzania by 1-0. So we just knew from that point that nothing will happen as regards to qualifying to the World Cup. Very, very sad state of affairs here. We only hope that the team will start preparing for the 2030 FIFA World Cup. And it was good to see the Football Association of Zambia President Keith Mwemba encouraging the team. He told them not to despair. He told them not to lose hope, but to look forward, because we have other qualifiers coming, and the 2030 World Cup is not far away from now, Neto. But what is of paramount, it is to start preparation now. Otherwise, this one is gone, Neto.
16:51 Central African Time. That's the reality of sport. You win some, you lose some. But if you are not properly prepared, those that have prepared thoroughly will expose you. And that's the nature of the game, not just in football, but different sporting codes. We take the last break on Africa at Play, and we will wrap up the conversation with Namuchana shortly.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Wewe ni mjasiriamali unajihusisha na biashara ya kuuza dawa.
Jaribu kutuambia kwanza, kwa nini ulianzisha biashara hiyo?
Tutasema kwamba maisha ya kila siku ni kwamba mtu anapashwa kuwa na maisha ya kuweza kujitegemea. Usitegemee kuajiriwa, lakini utegemee kujiajiri, na baadaye utaweza ukaajiri wengine. Na hiyo ilinipa msukumo mkubwa kwa kuweza kujiajiri na kampuni hii kwa ajili ya kuweza kuwasaidia wale ambao wanahangaika zaidi.
Unauza aina gani ya dawa?
Unasema ni dawa, lakini kwetu sisi tunaita kama vile ni pipi, ambayo ni virutubisho ambavyo vinakwenda kusaidia kwa wale ambao wanatatizwa na aina tofauti ya magonjwa.
Virutubisho hivyo sasa vinatibu magonjwa gani?
Virutubisho hivi vinatunza magonjwa kama vile ya kisukari, shinikizo la damu.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Where champions rise and legends are made. Join Neto Chemane on Africa at Play, only on Channel Africa.
16:53 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are wrapping up the conversation with Namuchana, our correspondent based in Lusaka, Zambia. So Namuchana, let's touch on the Tokyo Japan World Athletics Championships that are currently underway, having kicked off yesterday, and it will be 9 days action of World Athletics Championships. Is Team Zambia well represented?
Yeah, the team is being represented by the likes of Ngala Samkonga, but so far the country is not doing well in that regard. We only hope that they'll get something out of these games. And the only trouble that we have is that every time we have we have championships of such magnitude, Zambia has always been sending a few athletes at such games, which is very, very disappointing. And it's like we have been leaning so much. We have been pinning our hopes as a country on one person, and this is Mzara Samkonga. And if the guy doesn't do well, then the country doesn't reap anything. But so far, I can tell you, we are not doing good at the ongoing games. We only hope that going forward, we are going to do something. Otherwise, Neto Zambia isn't doing well in our sporting codes. We only hope that we'll get back to the drawing board, the so-called drawing board. Every time we don't do well, we say we have to go back to the drawing board to make sure that we do better the next time around. Otherwise, there is nothing that is happening. We are yet to see Team Zambia perform miracles at the Tokyo Games.
16:55 Central African Time. That's Namuchana, our correspondent based in Lusaka, Zambia. And I keep getting worried when people go to the drawing board, because there'll come a time where this drawing board will not have space to draw again. Interesting indeed. So Namuchana, thank you so much for sharing your side with us on Africa at Play.
Yeah, thank you so much, Neto. And everybody is glued here in Zambia, waiting to watch the big one today, Manchester City versus Manchester United. And it is jam-packed everywhere. I only hope you are able even to get the background noise, because we can't wait to watch this one.
16:56 Central African Time. It is a big one. The Manchester Derby. Manchester United up against Manchester City, with the citizens being the favourites because of how the Manchester United have been struggling to produce good results. But in football, there's no therefore, as one legendary commentator, Sisi Manyapelo, once said. So it remains to be seen what's going to be an outcome on that one. We've got a voice note from a sport fan, Lwazi Matsaku, sharing his sport stories of the week. Let's find out what is it all about.
Retaining the Canelo Crawford fight. Yeah, it was a great fight, man. It was a great fight, but Crawford proved his mettle. That is one of the best, if not the best of the current active boxers. Goes up to 8 divisions to conquer. Crawford in his comfortable weight class, and win the fight by unanimous decision. I saw that coming. Congrats to Crawford. But Pirates, they are proving themselves now to be the cup kings of SA football. 4 wins now in a row of the MTN Super 8. Yeah, big up to the Bucks, and their new coach. They hit the ground running, So yeah, the departure of Rivero is not felt. Yeah, again for the Springboks, it's disappointing loss because they've been cruising in victories. It was unexpected, but they have to go back to the drawing board. Yeah, that's about it for me.
16:57 Central African Time. Thank you for choosing Africa's number one, Africa at Play. Coming up your way is Mix Vibration with Jolene Nsungu. A big thank you to Catherine Chuchu TV Maleka, our technical operator, not forgetting our audiovisual streaming specialist, Mike Mokwena, as well as our social media guru, Tumi Selema, and my producer, Andisiwe Fagimalu Zobona Mali. And from the rest of the Africa at Play team, thank you for listening. Odia Asima Datera, Ewongbong Dia. A day above the ground is a good day. Africa at Play, as Deleli Siashai. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Jacob Shiba Piti waka sajja lwazi nebo jamunda zengonderera ngeri envu ali